Check 1, 2. There we go.
Oh,
I had it on the
we
wrong
got some
side.
volume stuff happening.
Your
right
volume's
here.
going to be right there.
Right here.
Yes,
there
sir.
we go. Oh, I got you. Look at that. Oh, I can't hear myself now at all. It's weird.
Oh,
and
yeah?
then I can hear myself good.
There you go.
Put it right in the middle.
Right in the middle. All right. Let's see if this air turns off in the next minute. And
Sure.
if it doesn't, we'll just start up.
We'll just act like it's supposed to be there.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing I really liked about doing this is the first time me and my friend just smoked up and then started talking, and then it just went.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I heard some comments from, some people that have watched it.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, maybe you should introduce yourself and the guest at least.
Yeah.
I was like,
Okay.
that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
I'll make it a little corporate.
Yeah. Hey, man, you always, you got to have a couple of first times doing something before you sort of really get into a groove,
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. What was it? They say like 10,000 hours and then you'll master.
And then you're a
some-
master.
Oh.
10,000 hours. Gee whiz. I don't know if I have 10,000 hours in anything.
No?
No.
I mean-
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd have to do some calculations and think. I'm sure maybe my regular job I got like 10,000 hours in.
Yeah.
Maybe?
I mean, I don't know. I've been at it for about 10 years, at least for this video thing.
Yeah.
And maybe you're right. We'll have to do some math because I don't know. Even if someone were to get 10,000 hours, do you think anyone's like, yeah, I'm good?
Like right at the 10,000 hour mark.
Yeah. They're like, yeah, I can see that. I think
That'd
I'm
be
okay.
good. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it'd be interesting to find out.
Yeah. Yeah. Because isn't that like where the Beatles, like I think one of my old band teacher, my old band director said, like first mentioned that concept
Yeah.
to me where it's like, well, there's this book
Yeah.
and it's all about like 10,000 hours doing something for that long amount of time.
Yeah.
And then you'll get good at it or like be really good at it
Yeah.
or master or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I want to say he told me that the Beatles, it was used as an example. Like they just played
Yeah.
all over where they were,
Yeah.
kept playing. And then eventually they became the Beatles.
And it was supposed to be the 10,000 hour mark.
That's the idea.
It'd be hilarious. Maybe there's like an app that just like, ding, you're at the 10,000 hour mark. And then you just immediately get your master certification.
I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind that. Because then you have like, oh, well, some paperwork saying, well, I mean, come on up with the time.
You've been
into it.
officially doing this for 10,000 hours. You're good.
Yeah. So, I mean, that means I need to do it like 5,000 of these episodes.
Right.
Or 6,000 to get it where it's like 10,000 hours.
That's a lot, man.
That is years.
Well, but you know what? You can't just go with it. I mean, you got to you're going to have to count in like all the other film stuff that you've done as well. You
think so?
Oh, yeah. Count that. Throw it in there, man.
So, like watching movies?
I think watching movies counts because that's like, to me, that's like a studying thing.
Absolutely.
I mean, you watch movies, you study it. I mean, you can watch them for entertainment, which I do most of the time. But,
Sure.
Even when you're doing that, you're picking up on things.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if they're not, that's one thing I hate about myself. If I could change anything about myself, that may be it. Where I watch a movie and I wish I could just let what I know about production waste away.
Yeah, just let it go.
Just then I can maybe enjoy it a little more.
That's what I tell people is like, that's the one thing about being a filmmaker is it's kind of like Neo in the Matrix. It's like once you realize it, you see the code.
You're right.
After that. But I will say I'm pretty good at just like sitting back and just kind of watching something and enjoying it. I will say, a number of times during a movie or a show, I'm like, oh, that's a good shot. Or, oh, I wonder how they did that. Or I bet you I know how they did that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really take me out of the story or the movie too much. Most of the time, I can just let it go. But I can also go in with the mindset of I'm going to watch what they do, especially if it's something I've seen a bunch of times.
Sure.
And I'm like, I'm going to watch what they do, see what makes this thing work.
Yeah.
Why is this such a popular movie? Why do people like this style so much?
Well, let's use that and piggyback off. But first off, I'm going to do the intro. So
yeah.
I'm Homero Santos, full-time video director. I love video games. Anything media, I'm a Renaissance man with creating stuff. And you, Ricky Hess, thank you so much for stopping by.
Of course.
All right, so director and creator of the Horror Hotel series,
That's
web
right.
series, yes?
Yep.
Where can they find that?
Right now we got Horror Hotel on Amazon Prime and Tubi TV, which are both streaming. I'm pretty sure everybody's familiar with Amazon. But,
Absolutely.
that was started out as a web series, and then it kind of transitioned into being picked up for a number of platforms, but our distributor had a hard time getting it distributed in individual episodes, so we combined it into a feature film.
Oh, is that so? That was the reason why.
Right, exactly. Like the first season of Horror Hotel, it was in individual episodes on Hulu.
Okay.
And then when we did season 2, the individual show format wasn't as popular, so they're like, okay, package this into a movie. So we put that into one feature film, and that was released on Amazon Prime. And it's actually called Horror Hotel the Movie, even though it's really our season 2.
Right.
Yeah, and then we just did season 3 a little over a year ago, and that was packaged into a movie, and that's Return to Horror Hotel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so both of those, Horror Hotel the Movie and Return to Horror Hotel, are on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for the films, did you just piece all the episodes together, and that was it, or did you film extra scenes to go make it go into one of each other? Or?
Well, I didn't film anything extra going into it because it's so hard to know what the market is going to want. Because at least, when I first started doing Horror Hotel, individual episodes were really popular. Web series were a big thing.
Okay,
so
multiple.
Right, exactly. And I knew a lot of filmmakers that had actually made films. And what they would do is they would take these films they made, and they would actually cut their film into 4 episodes and call it a web series, even though it's a feature film that they couldn't get distributed another way, but they could get it distributed as a web series.
Wow.
But then over time, that web series format became less popular, and distributors wanted full-length films.
Okay.
So then that's so it's so hard to know how that's going to shift. It may shift back to wanting individual episodes, because I mean, you look at Disney Plus, they release their series, one episode at a time.
Right.
Whereas, places like Netflix will do a whole season at a time.
Right.
So it depends on where you're getting it distributed, what's popular. But what I ended up doing for the season 2 and 3 when I combined them to a movie was I just did a little bit of re-editing. I didn't reshoot anything.
Okay.
I just did a little bit of re-editing because at least on season 2, I didn't know they were going to want it as a full movie.
Right.
I had no idea I needed to shoot anything extra. But I just put them in there. And in fact, before every episode or segment within the film, the Horror Hotel title comes back up.
Okay.
But I did plan early on with Horror Hotel. I was never a big fan of shows that had long-running titles in the beginning.
Okay.
That's why with Horror Hotel kind of glows up and then the show starts. It's less than 10 seconds to start. So I don't feel like it's too jarring in the film to see that, because it's not like you got to watch this 5-minute thing. So,
right.
And then for the credits, I just would kind of fade out and then drop the credits and go into the next movie.
Okay.
And then at the very end, all I did was re-edit and put all the credits roll into the very end for all the segments. So it'd be like segment 1, these people, segment 2, these people.
Episode,
so it's involved. 2-3 minute long credits at the end for the whole thing.
Okay.
And that's what I also did for season 3 / the second movie.
Gotcha.
Because it worked the same well for the first film.
Sure.
So that's just what I did for the second one. So no reshooting, just slight re-editing, little touch-ups.
Okay.
The most difficult thing I found was that because a lot of the episodes, because you worked with us on one.
Yeah.
We'll use different cameras and stuff, so you'll get some different formats. Some may be 4K, some 2K.
Yeah.
Same thing with sound. The sound may be recorded a little bit different, or we try to get original composers for every episode.
Sure.
And so the format they give it to you in may be stereo, or it may be like dual mono, which kind of comes out of stereo, but it's not stereo.
Right. And just 2 separate
Yeah.
channels.
But then when you got to package all that stuff together and give it to a distributor, it all has to be consistent. So your file format for your video has to be consistent. So you need to bump everything to 2K if that's what it needs to be.
Okay.
Yeah. Your sound, you may have to re-edit that to get everything in true stereo, or go back to have had to go back to composers and have them give me the files a little bit differently so I could have true stereo. Rebalance the sound between all the episodes. We tried to keep everything consistent anyways.
It's tough,
but
man.
you got to do it. You got to listen through the whole thing and make sure there's not any differences in there, but
Sure.
it was mostly things like that
Okay.
that we had to do in order to get the thing packaged fully
Gotcha.
to give to a distributor.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild, man.
Yeah. I
so
mean,
that was in the
yeah.
purpose of helping more eyes get to the content?
You mean just as far as just distributing?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Or was it like an artistic choice in your part where like, well, I want to go ahead and put these together?
oh, no, it was mainly just because that was the best distribution deal we had.
Got you.
Was to be able to get it in, more eyes, the better. Honestly, when I first started shooting Horror Hotel, I just thought I would just throw, some single episodes on YouTube and
Sure.
maybe somebody watch it, maybe they wouldn't. I had no idea that there was any distribution possibilities out there.
Away from YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I
I mean,
see.
I had no idea. I was like, I'm shooting a web series. I watch web series on YouTube. Maybe a few people see. I honestly didn't think it would go very far, other than just me doing it for the fun of doing it.
Sure. So what was the point then that you decided to change and go for either multiple or these longer videos?
I guess it's just with the first season, we ended up pitching it to Hulu like 3 or 4 times before they actually accepted it.
Wow. Okay.
And it really just ended up being that people really liked it a lot and it was going somewhere. And we had some interest in various distributors and platforms that just kind of come to us. And I was like, wow, people care about this sort of thing,
Wow.
So, I mean,
so people came to you.
Yeah. Some people came to us. I mean, we had talked to some producers at Showtime and Sci-Fi Channel during that time and all, and Hulu. So we had like a lot of people interested, just nothing was really taking off for a while. And it was on YouTube at that point. And then finally Hulu was like, you know what? We really do like it. Let's drop it on Hulu.
Let's
and we're
try
like,
it.
oh, that's huge. That's like, at the time, that was like one of the big 3, I mean,
Yeah.
you had Hulu and Netflix, and Amazon was just starting to kind of take off just a little bit. They hadn't
Right.
quite hit like a good,
Right.
streaming, system there. But, Hulu was a big player then. So we're like,
Now owned by Disney.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so, so we were excited. So we went with that. And then,
And that was because of like views or an outcry for people to watch it, or
so the funny thing about it is when you're trying to get onto one of the larger platforms, they want content that is not anywhere else.
okay.
So we couldn't build up an audience without being on YouTube first. Nobody's going to see it if it's not anywhere. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely.
So,
okay.
And so they want some sort of audience to come along with it. But the catch-22 is, we want an audience with it, but we also don't want you to have distributed to anywhere else.
Yet.
So, right. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So anyway, so
That's
it was
almost like a job where you need experience, but it's an entry level.
exactly.
Position.
It's the same thing. And so that was the hard thing that we had about Hulu. So we really didn't end up getting that much monetary return from Hulu. It's like practically nothing because it was already released on YouTube at that point. Eventually it had to get pulled from YouTube in order to get distribution. But once it got onto that, after Hulu, it really picked up a lot of popularity. Hulu ended up making it so they didn't actually take content from independents after a while. They didn't really do it a whole lot anyways because it was mostly networks that were putting their shows on there. It's owned by the networks.
Sure.
So it was rare for us to even be able to get on it. But
Wow.
After that, they're like, nobody if you're independent.
Okay.
So that cut us out. And
Independent meaning
like not with a major studio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyways, we just had a lot of popularity built up, and we were like, hey, people are interested. So more and more distributors would come to us, and we finally had one that was like, we can get you on Amazon Prime. And at that time, the only way to get on it was through a distributor.
Got you.
And so we just went for it because, why not? Now people are watching it,
Yeah.
And so anyways, we're having fun with it. Like I said, I never knew it was going to be something that would take off, but it had. I just say, I'm blessed to, have had that sort of success out of nowhere. But
absolutely. And how long was all that? Like the timetable, was it a year? A few episodes
to get like on Hulu, or
I guess for the whole process from you starting to have the web series, bam, your first upload all the way to, Oh, wow. It's on Amazon now.
Yeah.
Couple of years?
Couple 2 or 3 years, because I know the first season, I want to say we had it done for about a year before Hulu actually wanted to pick it up.
The first season. And
Wow. This is going back and forth with them like 3 or 4 times on things.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and the thing is, people in those industries that work on those streaming platforms, they'll work there for a little while and then they'll go somewhere else, and new people will come in. So sometimes new people will be interested, or people that were interested in it there, but say their producer wouldn't, buy it. They would go to another place, and then they would say, "Hey, I know these people that are making this stuff that we really like. Would you be interested?" And then they'll take it. So
networking, man.
Yeah, so that's what ended up happening to us most of the time. Is if we couldn't get in somewhere else, it's just a matter of getting a hold of the right person, or that right person going somewhere else and taking that information with them and then pitching you to that. So it does end up being a time-weighted thing a lot of times.
So here's my other question.
Okay.
With it too, because I loved that experience. Was a big learning experience for me whenever we worked together.
Yeah.
On that episode. At that point, I was wanting to be just a cinematographer.
Okay.
And so I was obsessed with framing and then pushing what I can do physically with the camera.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we ended up getting quite a few pretty interesting shots, I think.
Yeah.
And but now, because that was a few years ago, it's hard to believe, right?
Yeah.
That was like 5 years ago.
Yeah, it was a little while back, because that was season 2 and one of the earlier episodes.
That's
too.
wild to think about. But just going through and thinking through my journey now that I want to, write, direct, and maybe do some acting for sure.
Yeah.
It was just really interesting to see you work and then work with your actors and then get your blocking and everything like that. So, I mean, did you have goals like for this episode? I'm really wanting to narrow down this, or for this episode, it's all about just the story, or like, did you try to vary it up in some ways?
Yeah. So, I like to say that I always try to tackle every project where I do something that I haven't done before, that's new, or that I've never thought I would be able to do. So yeah, every episode I go into, I may have an idea of a particular shot or some way that I want to shoot the story.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. In our season 1, we had this story called Bookworm.
Okay.
And we ended up shooting the whole thing in black and white, but not black and white in camera or editing. We literally made the entire room and all the props and all the costumes black and white and gray.
Okay.
And there's actually a lot of people that have watched it and they think it's a black and white film.
Uh-huh.
So I just had this idea. I was like, I want to shoot something that the world that these people live in is a black and white world. I mean, imagine if Leave It to Beaver.
Sure.
If you, I guess, want to get meta about it or something, like in his world, if everything really is black and white.
It's just the way it is.
It's not like it's color and then it's presented to us in black and white. Everything is just black and white.
Right.
Anyways, that's kind of how I wanted to shoot it, was these characters live in this world that is a black and white world. Now, of course, there's a little bit of pink in their skin from the saturation and stuff. But
sure.
In editing, I don't recall dialing down the saturation, and I think it's just shot it kind of flat and just kind of left it like that,
Wow. And that's so interesting, man.
Yeah, so I just always try to do something different like that and try to challenge myself, get an idea of like a different way to shoot something.
Okay. So whenever you think about these, innovative ideas, do they represent themselves thematically in your script? Or is it mainly just an aesthetic thing that you try to focus on?
I guess for me, so my dad writes all the horror hotel stories, and he's just got, I guess, a weird twisted mind like that. People always ask him how he comes up with it.
Sure.
And he's like, I don't know, I guess just, he talks about my mom's family is weird, so he gets a lot of ideas from the weird stuff they do or something, you never know.
Sure.
But yeah, he just has this weird mind that works, and he writes a crazy story. And for me, I'm very much a visual guy, and I always try to think of things in a visual way. And a lot of people don't know this, but I actually don't know that much about visual effects. I suck at visual effects.
Is that right? You do everything practically, though.
I do. That's the thing.
That's dope.
Yeah. I do everything practical. So, like, I don't know anything about, like, computer effects. And I do a very little bit of green screen here and there.
Sure.
But for the most part, I try to do everything practical because that's just the way I understand it. So, a lot of times I will see something or want to shoot something, or I may not even have an idea of a thing I want to do until I see a script.
Sure.
And then I'm like, how would I do that practically? And I try to come up with some way to do a practical version of that.
Sure.
And so for me, I'm a movie watcher. I like watching things.
Same.
So as much as I appreciate good stories and stuff, I try to do a lot of my expression through visual.
Sure.
As much as I can.
I dig it.
Yeah.
I dig it.
Yeah, you get that.
Yeah, man. I'm with you. I'm with you. Like, that's one of the problems I have with quite a few things that have come out recently, especially because in the past 6 months, I've been watching a lot of older films.
Okay.
That's one reason I like your series, is because in my mind, it feels like you get a lot of your visual inspiration through, things from mid-90s back.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And there's something weird that a lot of people don't talk about. I'm surprised there's not a lot of op-eds about it. But in watching these older films, like we just watched Tremors.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You
Tremors.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. And they had a bunch of Tremors after the first one.
We just finished the Western, apparently, that they made.
That's weird.
It's insane.
Yeah. Okay.
But mainly the first and a little bit of the second one.
Yeah.
When you watch a film, you can tell if it's not presented, in my mind, as well as it could be.
Yeah.
You can see the budget.
Okay.
Like for me, it's a miracle for some of these films to be as low budget as they are and you not be able to tell.
Right.
Like, they held on this shot because they didn't afford the effects.
Right.
Or,
I got you.
The cutting, they reversed this shot to kind of make it seem like it's more exciting than it really was.
Right. Right.
But, I mean, a lot of films now, it's almost formulaic.
Yeah.
They'll have the two shot where me and you are talking, and they'll cut to me, they'll cut to you, and then they'll make it so it's an L cut where you hear me but see you.
Exactly.
And then they
cut L cuts, J cuts to kind of like, but a lot of that's just editing magic too.
Sure.
Try to bring it in.
Which isn't bad.
Yeah.
It's a style.
Yeah.
It's a style. I'm trying to change the way I think about it, where it's like, that's cheap, instead of that, where it's like, it's just a style. We're all trying to make stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And they do a lot for like pacing, and if a conversation between two people is a little too boring, they do a lot of those L and J cuts and quick cuts back and forth and stuff.
Absolutely. Which I understand, but in my mind, I'm like, just write it better, dude. Just write it better. Yeah. It's tough though.
Yeah.
It's tough because even in my endeavors in writing, it's very difficult. Like for the past few years, I've been trying to figure out my formula.
Yeah.
The Santos formula.
I got you.
Right. When it comes to writing, short or long, anything. Yeah. And I watch these videos on YouTube where they break down writing. And there's a guy named Mike Hill.
Yeah.
And he was an artist of visual, like a environmental artist for video games and movies.
Yeah.
Long ago, like 20 years ago.
Okay.
All right. So then the past few years, he's been releasing these very long form analysis, almost like TED Talky videos.
Okay.
About breaking down different subject matter in film. One of them is my favorite. And I think it's the one that got him the most famous, right? Yeah. Online, where he's breaking down Hollywood blockbusters and why they aren't, in his mind, considered art.
Okay.
Right.
Like, are we talking like this is like newer blockbusters?
Yes.
Okay. I
yes.
Gotcha.
So anything like 2000, late 90s on.
Okay.
And his movie that he uses for an example is Terminator 2.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And I thought it was like, well, I grew up with the film.
Yeah.
I love it.
Me too.
I don't know why I love it.
Yeah.
So let's see what this guy, this artist, great artist, by the way, worked on Half-Life 2.
Okay.
And a few other, I don't want to say, I think he knew people that were doing that Jodie Foster movie, Contact.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. Because he breaks that down too.
Okay. So he's saying like in his mind, they aren't art, those movies.
No. Those are.
Those are art.
Those are considered art. And he breaks them down in a very psychological way.
Okay.
Right. So in my mind, I use that and then a few other videos about act structure and then thematic, so character development.
Okay.
I use those as like my Bible whenever I just practice my writing. And I mean, I can tell it's a lot. Yeah. It helps with the writing, just thinking about, okay, like in Terminator 2, taking an arc and archetypes from mythology and using them in the film through protagonist and the antagonist.
I gotcha.
Right, the hallway
Right.
where they fight. I didn't realize when I was growing up or watching it a few hundred times.
Yeah.
Like that's almost a mythical kind of setup where you have left, you have right, you have the bad guy dressed in a good guy costume, and the good guy dressed in a bad at the time a bad boy,
right?
And then that happening 3 times. The first time, it being one way, the second time it being another way, and then the third time left and right. That's where it ends, and then through the thematics and the character development. But like John Connor and the Terminator, they're 3 different people. So like in the first time, they're just meeting.
Yeah.
Second time, it's a transition.
Okay.
And then by the end, John Connor ends up growing up being the man he's supposed to be versus the beginning where he was just a kid.
Okay.
And then the Terminator ends up taking the role as this father figure.
Right.
Learning what humans are. I know now why you cry, and it's not something I cannot do. Realizing that there is more to human that he can ever offer. It's a very father and maternal type of thing. Same for Sarah Connor. And to me, I was like, I never picked up on any of this.
Now is this a podcast that he's doing?
This is almost like a TED Talk he's doing on, that, and he uses a few other films in contrast to show, the differences between thinking about those elements whenever it comes to plot structure, thinking about how showing and not telling through visual, how these characters can evolve versus now where I have to agree with them. I'm being told, or we're being told, I feel like this. This is why you should care, audience. And we really don't see those growth factors because 1, it's hard to think of in writing. 2, you got to write fast if you want to create now. Because there's so much competition and content out there. And 3, you have to make it so it's under the budget constraints. You don't have 2 years to write a script. Or like a year. Most of the time, it's like 6 weeks. And people have to write series. It's crazy, dude.
Well, I'd be interested in that because I love seeing, I guess that in a way like film theory.
Absolutely.
Like film story structure theory, that sort of thing. I mean, there's a lot of stuff, that you can see where it's like, what it means on a screen when a character moves from left to right, that they are good guy and the bad guys move, or good guys moving from right to left, bad guys moving from left to right, that sort of thing, you know? So yeah, I love seeing that sort of thing. And, I wonder how often that's, implemented in things. I try to think about those things when I'm watching films sometimes or making a film as well. I think a lot of it has to do with less of what an audience consciously realizes and more what a subconscious realization is for them.
He goes into that as well.
Yeah, and that's kind of what it is. I mean, there's a lot of times that, I could be shooting something. I'll say, well, I know this is a minor thing here, but if we incorporate this, the audience won't notice it. But it's the difference between what makes a movie feel good to somebody or feel like a crappy movie to somebody.
Dude, absolutely.
So I get that.
Absolutely.
I think it's definitely something you have to think about, but I'm not sure that, you can't break the rules as well. You know what I mean?
I mean, absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. So like in myself developing what I want to what I want, how the stories I want to flesh out are told. And that's why I'm trying to think about, well, that's not crappy. It's just this guy's style.
Yeah.
Like Paul W.S. Anderson.
Yeah.
That's his style.
That is his style. Yeah. He's got
and
a
he
style.
loves it.
Yeah.
He did like the Resident Evil movies.
Yeah.
And, what other, or the guy that did Day After Tomorrow and, Independence Day.
Right.
The 2012.
Yeah.
Those are his kind of movies.
Right.
Very plot oriented.
Yeah.
Rather than human.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
Well,
there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, in film anyways, I mean, you got to think about the fact that you are telling a story through visual. You are not a book, so it's not, you're not just, reading descriptions and stuff like that. It's a visual thing. So to me, the visual is the big part of it.
I agree, but I can't contest because, I mean, I don't know, man. Like in video games and like in books.
Yeah.
Even though, like with books, I only just started reading as much as I have been ever in my whole life recently.
Yeah.
And I prefer reading rather than audiobooks just because then I'm kind of putting it in my own perspective.
Okay.
And then with video games, to me, it's different than watching someone play, you playing.
Right.
That experience is completely different.
Right.
And then to your point, watching movies, that in itself is a different experience.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm with you. It's visual, but for me, it's just like, well, what are you trying to say?
Yeah.
You know, what is it you're trying to say with this media?
Right.
You know, like I just watched Uncut Gems.
Okay.
You know, and Joker.
Okay.
Which I bought just by the way, if you want to catch it later, dude.
Okay.
It's so dope. 4K. Get out of town. You haven't seen it, yeah?
No, I haven't seen it. No.
Oh, bro.
No.
Well,
I've heard it's really good.
Well, that's one thing that, that goes right into what we're talking about, because they could have done it with the other DC films where it's just like, this is plot oriented.
Yeah.
This is what's going on with Superman and Aquaman and everything. And that's it.
Yeah.
You know, but with the Joker film, what I like about it so much is that it looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. No worries.
Okay.
It's written just so well from a plot structure, but it also has something to say about society at large.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, it tries to comment
Right.
on cancel culture,
Okay.
on, you know, how we as people hear a piece of news and then go ahead and formulate ideas of what that news means to us.
Yeah. So they got they took their own style on it. You know, they weren't trying to follow the rest of the, you know, DC movies.
Yes.
In that
yes,
regard.
absolutely. But I'm learning that that's the kind of stories I like to see.
Okay.
Like with Midsommar. Have you seen that?
What was it?
Midsommar?
No, I haven't. No.
Oh, bro, you'd love it.
Okay.
You'd love it.
Yeah,
It's
check it out.
like a horror thriller.
Okay. Yeah.
The guy that did Ari Aster, he did Midsommar this year. Last year he did Hereditary.
Right.
And horror thriller.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Okay.
But if you watch both of them back to back, it's obvious what he's trying to say. There's religious themes.
Right.
There's culty themes.
Yeah.
Sexual themes, and then a big emphasis on substance abuse.
Okay.
And psychological mental health.
Okay.
So like his films and his writing go into that.
Okay.
You know, all of that, and then interweaves them into these in my mind, they're masterpieces.
Wow.
They're so good because they comment on so much rather than just being about a story.
Right.
It's about something a little closer to home.
So would you say you view films as being, or at least needing to be, more art oriented over entertainment, or you think there's a balance, or you think entertainment over art?
That's a good question. In my mind, you can do both.
I agree.
You can do both.
I completely agree.
Because, I mean, you can see an arty film and it not be entertaining.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Now,
and then vice versa.
Yeah. Well, wasn't it Martin Scorsese that was just recently come under fire for saying something like Marvel films are not real cinema?
It's bullshit.
Right?
Come on, buddy.
So, I mean, see, to me, when I look at it, for the most part, even like Hollywood blockbusters, kind of going back to the original point about, you know, how much of it is considered real art.
Okay.
To me, I think their main objective is entertainment. I have no problem with it. I love it. I mean, I'm a big sucker for things like Marvel films and Star Wars films, and
Same.
I just love having fun.
Sure.
And to me, if I'm not having fun with the movie, even if it's really artistic, I get it. I understand it. I'll watch it. I don't mind even studying it.
Okay.
But as far as just personal enjoyment, I just want to have fun sometimes.
That's
you know,
awesome,
and really
dude.
enjoy it. So, but I think no matter what, there is a lot of art that has to go into it, because even the Hollywood blockbuster films, for the most part, they're not going to, you know, really jack up how they're shooting it. You know what I mean? They're going to implement a lot of those formulaic ways of shooting films that people are used to, that incorporate it, and there's artists involved.
Sure.
And there's a lot of art involved. It's not just visual. There's sound, there's music,
Well, there's absolutely
actors. So there's a lot of art involved, even in blockbuster films. So, you know,
here's my thing, though, is like, so you just asked me what's more important.
Right.
To me, all of it's important.
Okay.
But as a watcher, there are, in my mind, 3 levels.
Okay.
And it's separated in the way we consume the media.
Right.
And it's what that Mike Hill guy goes into. And I'm going to butcher it, but I'm going to try, right?
Okay.
So we have 3 forms of consuming anything in our brain. You know, there's I want to say there's a visual, which is, you know, an animalistic, instinctual kind of violent thing that we have inside of us, and it's a reptilian complex or something like that, where we just thrive on quick cuts, action, bam, explosions. Michael Bay.
Okay, I got you.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there's another one where we look at symbols. Okay. Right. So symbols being red, blue, good, bad.
Yeah.
And I want to think that that's thematically where that comes from.
I got you.
And then the third one, I want to say it's done through visual elements. Okay. I know I'm butchering it, but in my mind, that's how I look at films. So like to your point, if I'm watching Jumanji 2, right, that's going to go in the first level where it's mainly reptilian. It's fun. It's exciting. There's some sexual stuff, some funny stuff, some action stuff. And that's right there in the first level. Nothing wrong with it, but that's as far as it wants to go. It's not trying to be like super artsy. Yeah. It's not trying to do anything else.
Yeah, but at the same time, they're not going to jack up, the shoot.
No, absolutely.
It's going to look good.
Oh, it's going to
sound good. It's going to be shot well.
It'll be shot decently.
Yeah.
But it's not shot like what's another in my mind, Ford versus Ferrari.
Okay.
I watched that recently too. And that to me goes into the next level, where it's more compelling because they're thinking of the visual side of it to complement the previous side.
Yeah.
And, it's shot well. There's a lot of nice thematic, human kind of moments, but it's not doing anything in my mind where it's going to be like, that to me is just an entertaining flick.
But what you're saying is like at that second level, they're giving a lot of thought into lighting, camera angles, a beautiful money shot kind of thing
to complement what's going on, what's being said. So like if there's a moment where Christian Bale's character finds out that the company they're working for Ford doesn't want him driving, for vanity, for just perception. How are people going to think about this? And they make sure that whenever he finds out, they push in, and he doesn't say something or does say something. But that third level in my mind is the Midsommar or I want to say Joker, but there's Knives Out.
Yeah.
Perfect representation of, in my mind, the three.
Okay.
Where we have the visual. Yeah. We have the exciting, the cuts and the violence, and the tension. Yeah. But then we have, in my mind, some subtle and some pretty overt thematic character development ideas in there. So like the protagonist is very human, and she's almost like us. The audience is in this character. Right. What would we do? We would do this. Okay. At first it'd be one thing, then another, because we're human. Yeah. But then it goes into culture. Okay. So how do we view each other in our culture? Like right now with the internet, everyone's going to be with Knives Out. Whenever something goes on, there's a witch hunt.
So you're saying like that third level is almost like the something special, whether it's like it's saying something extra beyond the movie.
Yeah. And those who look for it will find it.
I see.
If it's really good writing, it's going to be hard to find.
Right.
And that I love Knives Out. That director, Rian Johnson, one of my favorite directors right now. Yeah. Because he did it with The Last Jedi. Yeah. Did you watch that one?
Did.
What'd you think about that one?
Last Jedi? Well, so
because that's one that has all three in my mind.
Right. So if you look at The Last Jedi, I will say, before I get into my opinion on it, it seems to be very polarizing.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of people that love it and a lot of people that don't like it.
Yes, sir.
So
I think it's for the same reason as well.
To understand my opinion on The Last Jedi, as a standalone movie,
by itself.
I know it's not standalone, but if I just looked at it by itself.
Sure.
Good movie. Great movie. I don't have a problem with it at all. Very fun.
Okay.
I loved it. I saw it multiple times in theater. I've seen it. I can't even tell you how many times, outside theater, just at the home. Yeah. So, my wife and I are like huge into Star Wars stuff. It's hard for Star Wars to do wrong by us.
Awesome. So, that's the best space to be.
Right. But I also, look at things and actually try to figure out, what's the problem with this and stuff? Why is this movie polarizing to people and that? So I'll try to take a logical approach to how much I can love a film,
sure,
but I'll take a logical approach to problems or good things with it.
Sure.
So to understand that, to me, I got to look at, The Force Awakens, the first one when it came out. Mm-hmm. Loved it. It was great. I felt like they set up a really good story.
Sure.
You come into The Last Jedi, you can tell that thematically it's a little bit different.
Oh,
the
yeah.
messages are different from the first movie and the second.
Totally.
And but I didn't really have a problem with it because it was just like, this is this director, this is his vision. He's taken the elements from the first story, he incorporated them into the second, but expanded it and left it open like, okay, now where do we go from here?
Sure.
I don't have a problem with it because he didn't really negate anything that was done in the first one. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So he kind of just took it and rolled with it. Okay, great.
Did his own thing.
But the problem is going into the third movie.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong.
I'm
Again,
hearing it. I'm
I
hearing
love
it, bro.
It's fun.
Awesome.
Okay. I love
Awesome.
watching it. It was fun.
Uh-huh.
I just had a lot of problems with it. Going back and saying a lot of that stuff that happened in the second movie, don't worry about it. It's not a thing. Know what I mean?
So you're saying with the third movie, you didn't like that it almost felt that the second film didn't happen.
Yeah, in a way. And in fact, I feel like you could almost watch the first movie and the third movie.
And that's all you need.
Yeah, and there's a couple little plot elements that could be explained,
Sure.
in a paragraph, and you'll be
That'd
fine.
be it. Yeah.
And I don't like that. So my problem with the second movie actually isn't the second movie itself. It's the second movie in combination with the first and third.
Gotcha.
I would have wished that like J.J. Abrams had just done all three, so it would be a single vision.
Fair.
Or Ryan Johnson doing all three, so it was a single vision.
If only the world deserved that.
Yeah.
Because I would love to see that trilogy.
So I don't actually have a problem with Ryan Johnson or the second film or anything done with that. The problem I have is just that I felt like the vision throughout that trilogy was not consistent enough.
I can dig
That's
it.
the problem that I have with it. And I mean, there's a few things like you take the character of Rose. A lot of people had an issue with her.
Yeah.
And
In the third film.
yeah, well, in like the second film, a lot of people had this issue of, we don't like her and Finn trying to get together. We don't like this character. And
It's not what we expected.
Yeah, and a lot of people were hating on the actress and stuff, and that's not cool either.
Right.
I can understand you don't dig a character because
Sure.
I didn't mind her, but I mean, she wasn't one of my favorite characters. But I'm like, okay, whatever.
Sure.
And I felt like in the third movie, it's like she took a back seat. The stuff in the second movie don't matter.
Yeah.
Finn's got a new chick that could be his new interest. It was just like that's what I didn't like. So
Sure.
whether or not there are some elements in the second movie that I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
The third movie is like, I just wanted consistency.
Sure. No, I can dig it, man. And I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you because one of the problems I have with the first, and this is a great example of, again, all those three things that I look for, because first one, my biggest issue with it wasn't really an issue with most people.
Okay.
People just wanted to have a new trilogy. They wanted more Star Wars.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the climate at the time. We didn't really have anything Star Wars until that moment.
That's right.
I think before then we had, Cartoon Network with their show.
Right.
Phenomenal show.
Yeah.
Clone Wars.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
yeah.
get
And
out
then
of
Rebels.
Rebels as well.
Yeah.
And then we had The Force Awakens, and then it blew up.
Yeah.
For me, I have a problem with anyone, any company, any director, any storyteller cashing in on nostalgia for nostalgia's sake.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
Again, just because I don't like it doesn't mean you can't admire it.
Right.
But it also means you don't have to criticize it.
Yeah.
And even though it was enjoyable, I loved it. That was probably my biggest problem with it is that it's just
like you're saying, it's like a fan service kind of thing. In
absolutely.
A way. Yeah.
It's a
I
new
get what
hope,
you're saying.
bro. It's a new hope.
Yeah, I will say there are a lot of similar elements to New Hope, story wise.
Absolutely.
Very similar.
From a plot perspective.
Yeah.
And from even thematically, with Luke and Rey both mimicking the same kind of developing issues.
Yeah.
Where they're both, loners.
Yeah.
Not happy in their
on a desert planet.
On a desert planet. Yeah. Trying to look for a way out,
Yeah.
but being reticent of that way out.
Yeah.
It's very much just like Save the Cat.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to that, but in my mind, my biggest issue is that the films before that that J.J. Abrams did were way more daring.
Okay.
Like if you look at the 3 Star Trek films, daring in a way where, in my mind, if you were to put the Force Awakens with the first Star Trek movie, the Star Trek film, from a writing and thematic perspective, works way better.
Yeah, I got you.
Way better.
Yeah.
And then,
that would explain why you like The Last Jedi so much, because Ryan Johnson really flip the script, so to speak, on expectations in Star Wars.
My favorite thing about him is that he, in The Last Jedi, to be honest, my favorite Star Wars movie ever.
Yeah.
So far, anyway.
Okay.
Is that it took all of those things that fans held so dear and basically said, fuck you. Yeah. It was just hilarious. But he did them in a way where, he subverted those expectations, but meshed them in with his themes.
Okay.
So instead of saying, haha, take this nostalgia, he was like, well, we really shouldn't rely on that nostalgia because all it's just going to do is, like the last film, be a cycle that never ends.
I gotcha.
And make it so the characters in that universe follow through the same mistakes.
Yeah.
And so in The Last Jedi, that's why in my mind, Luke has that whole, arc where he's like, it's this. And then we find out, whoa, he was the bad guy.
Yeah.
And then him making that sacrifice.
Yeah.
And from a character development standpoint, I love that, and it's mimicked through everything.
Right.
From Kylo, from Luke, saying that there should be no more Jedi.
Yeah.
It's something that just keeps happening.
There's
always this never-ending arc between good and bad. We should kill the past.
Right.
Wait. Forget the past.
Kill
Kill it if you have to.
Yeah.
Like everything just...
Well, the one thing that I really like what Rian Johnson did on that was, if you look at Star Wars, it's a lot of it has to do with you're powerful because you come from powerful family, or there's something like that. See what I'm saying? So
like royalty.
Right. So going into The Last Jedi, there are all these people, who is Rey related to? Is it Ben Kenobi? Is it Anakin? Is it Luke? Is she a soul? Like, it was like all this, like, who's her family? Who is her family? And then you get into The Last Jedi and it's like, nobody. But you know what? I like the message because you can see that the message in that movie is anybody can be great.
Anyone. It can come from anywhere.
I mean, on the surface, it's like anybody could be an awesome Jedi, but the overall message to the audience is anybody can be great, doesn't matter where you come from. You go into the third movie, and it's like, actually, you do have to be from a special family.
Yes.
And that's the thing I don't like is that's my biggest thing. So, no, I really liked it. I'd have to say my favorite Star Wars film is probably Rogue One.
Yeah. I can see why.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, a few reasons is, one, the way it's shot is not like other Star Wars films.
Absolutely.
I feel like in a way it's similar to like a Saving Private Ryan kind of shot where it's like almost this dirty war sort of thing going on, you know?
Sure.
And I just liked it a lot. I liked the way it looked. I liked the story. I felt like some of the best Star Wars films have been the ones that are standalone movies.
Sure.
And it may be because you got one director and visionary from the start to the finish.
Yeah.
And for me, consistency is more important because even if I dislike some element of the story or don't like something, I can respect it if it's consistent and the message is there.
Absolutely.
I'm good. But no, I liked Rogue One a lot. I felt like it also kind of flipped the script a little bit, with well, no spoilers, but the ending to that.
Sure.
Yeah, is that something unexpected in a way.
Right.
I mean, you knew it was going to happen.
Sure.
But it's not typical Star Wars, and I appreciated that a lot.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I mean, it's interesting because that's a whole nother thing from a writing perspective. Because I like that guy. What's his name? Gary something. But he did the first Godzilla, the new Godzilla.
Okay.
And after Godzilla, he did this.
Okay,
Rogue One.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. And I was excited to see it because what's interesting is that the first Godzilla, loved the first half. The second half, I was like, meh. And then with Rogue One, the first half, I was like, you're so close.
Yeah.
And then the second half, I was like, where has this movie been?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Like, whoa.
Right.
So it's interesting to see that growth because he's got, whenever he has a vision, from a visual perspective and, when things get moving, awesome. It reminded me of Fury Road. Did you watch that?
No.
Oh, bro, you'd love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Tom Hardy. And,
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
bro, it's so good. Like, it's basically the second half of Rogue One all the way through.
You mean Mad Max? Fury
Yes,
Road.
sir.
I have seen it. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
dude.
I heard Fury Road, and I'm like, sounds familiar. No, I've seen it a couple of times. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Oh,
very,
bro.
very well done.
Amazing.
Yeah, and good
Amazing.
story, too.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, talk about breaking rules. Like, the whole inciting incident was done off camera.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Right,
Because
right.
it's Charlize Theron's film.
Yeah.
And Mad Max is just a side character.
He is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's interesting.
Love that.
Yeah.
It's like a video game.
Right.
You know, where that's why I love the Witcher games or
Yeah.
any good game where even if it's open world has a lot of side quests.
Yeah, I've been replaying Witcher 3 recently.
What'd you think, man?
Yeah. So I tried playing The Witcher years ago. Such a long game, man, but so good.
Long form.
And the thing is, you really get into it. You know, there's a lot of those question marks on the map.
God damn question marks.
And I'm like,
I'm the same way.
I got to go through each of those. And I'll tell you this, the game, at least initially, is not easy. You know when you're in the wrong place and you're too early for it.
Yes.
But
are you like me where you get to a place where you're under-leveled and then just try to get through it just for the sake of leveling up?
A little bit. Like right now I'm in the Velen. And
that's the one where we have the king or the baron.
yeah, Red Baron.
The Baron.
Yeah. So and actually I'm kind of in the process of wrapping that up right now, that quest. But that I'd only got to the about where I'm at now a little bit before the first time.
Same, dude.
And I'm like,
because you're like 20 hours in by that point.
Yeah, and you're like, how big is this game?
Dude,
Right?
it's not even a quarter through.
Right. So anyways, I've been replaying again because the wife and I just watched the Witcher Netflix series.
I can't escape this series. What did you think about it?
We liked it a lot. I liked it a lot.
Good.
I thought it looked good. I will say, initially, the first couple episodes, I turned to my wife. I'm like, it feels like a little bit of a friendlier version of Game of Thrones, in a way.
Can dig it. Yeah.
But I will say I feel like they kind of came into their own, and what I was had read was that it was the show is based more off the books than the video game.
Sure.
Although I will say Henry Cavill, I think, is spot on with Geralt from the video game, right on the money, and so. Anyways, I ended up liking it. I think some of the time frame of the characters and how they shot their time frames, it's a little confusing at first.
The editing, you feel.
Yeah, and I was like the worst commentator during this thing too.
Really?
Because my wife hadn't played the Witcher games, and I was sitting there watching it, and things would happen in this. I will say this about the show. I think the biggest downfall is a lot of things aren't explained. So if you're not familiar with the Witcher in that world and stuff, the names, the characters, a lot of that could probably go over your head and be real confused. And she was like, so who is that? What is that? What is that? And I'm like, I don't know. I played part of The Witcher years ago. So anyway, so I started playing it through. And actually, while I was playing The Witcher, we were watching the show. And I'm like, okay, a lot of things make a lot more sense. So I could see that certain audiences would be a little more turned off and confused by it. I think if you stick with it to the end, I think anybody would get it and how the times mesh up and stuff. But I think that's probably the biggest downfall is it is not it's not a typical fantasy world that people are used to.
Well, that's one thing I love about the games, and especially the third game.
Right.
Is it's basically Sherlock Holmes. You're Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
But Sherlock Holmes is a buff, mutant human dude.
Yeah.
Getting to sleep with all these ladies
Right.
and slaying monsters and helping people or not.
Yeah.
Choice is a big deal.
Right.
And to me, man, when it comes to writing, it's crazy because books, to me, that's level 1.
Okay.
Films, level 2.
Okay.
From a story perspective.
Okay.
The biggest one that comes closest to home to me being the ideal, most intimate, has to be a video game.
Yeah.
Has to be.
So did you like the Witcher show?
No.
You didn't like it? What didn't you like about it?
I did not like that. I'm going to apologize to the audience because I've talked about this each episode.
Oh, really?
It's hilarious.
I'm sorry.
No, bro, you're good.
Okay,
I don't
okay.
mind talking
Okay.
about it. I'm apologizing to them.
Yeah.
Because they have to hear it. But, I mean, my big thing is that it checks all the boxes for me from something that I don't like. So
Really?
yes, I don't like the way it's shot.
Okay.
From a visual perspective, you could cut that and Game of Thrones together, and you're going to be wondering why all the shots from The Witcher look so bland.
Okay.
Number one. Number two, you're going to look from a writing perspective, and that writing perspective commits all the sins that I don't like in anything, which is, let's talk about this event instead of showing it.
Okay.
Let's tell you how we, the characters, feel.
Yeah.
And, pretend to think that means emotional trauma or means you should care.
Yeah. That's
one of the biggest sins. And number three, thematically, it has nothing to offer but plot,
Okay.
So it's all three of those things. It checks those boxes. And even though I really wanted to love it, because the third game, one of the best games.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
I
don't think there's anybody in the world that doesn't like the third game.
No one.
Yeah. But it's a gamer's game.
Yes, but you just mentioned the problems I have, which are good first world problems. Is like you start the game and you're like, I can't wait to get this story. Oh, look at all these question marks. 20 hours later, you go through this one side quest that's supposed to be the intro to the game.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus. Yeah. That's one of the things that, even though I love the game for, I kind of knock it a bit, because I love storytelling in video games, like Uncharted. Played all the Uncharteds multiple times.
Okay.
And then I want to say Last of Us, anything Naughty Dog.
So you're saying, like, you think that, like, the video game, going to the video game, story-wise, you think that it's strung out too long in a way? It's not condensed enough to keep interest going?
No, not at all. Because the writing in the video game, in my mind, surpasses a lot of the stuff coming out now.
Yeah.
And that's a 3-4 year old game.
Right. Well, even video games in general, a lot of people knock them, saying that, it's just video games, it's just fun and stuff. I think some of the best stories I've ever seen have come from video games.
Absolutely. Some of the best experiences. Yeah. I've cried and I felt emotion getting tugged,
Right.
Just like, I remember now, one of the biggest ones in the past few years was the second season of The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
And I played it on the Vita.
Okay.
Inferior hardware.
Yeah.
Terrible frame rate.
Yeah.
But if the experience and the writing and the, that intimacy is spot on.
I got you.
All those technical knocks, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
And only a video game can do that.
Yeah.
Because you can't watch a movie that, has multiple frame rates and not notice and it not take you out of the experience.
Yeah. Oh,
or if it has
frame rates throw me off, man. If it's not 24,
at least,
dude, I don't. The thing is,
I'm with you.
When I watch films that are shot over 24, I'm not a big fan.
Same.
I don't like the look.
I'm with you.
And I know a lot of people don't notice it. I'll be watching it and I'll tell people, I'm like, that's not 24.
Agree, dude.
And they're like, really? I can't tell. And I'm like, trust me, it doesn't look right if it's not 24.
It doesn't.
I'm a big 24 sucker, and no, I hear you. Yeah, I hear you for sure.
I mean, to your point, that's one of the things, again, with The Witcher 3 or any game. It happened to me with the second Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Okay.
I got sucked in because of the experience.
Yeah.
But because of me being a gamer, in my mind, I'm like, okay, so here's an open world.
Right.
I'm going to finish everything I can with that open world, level up, get all this stuff, and then move forward. And then it's going to open a new area or a new thing, finish everything and do that. I think in my mind, that's one thing that the developers for a lot of games now don't take into consideration.
Okay.
Is that we adults
are
going to be the ones that are going to be playing most of these games.
Yeah, that's true.
So what does that mean? We don't have a lot of time.
Right.
And with that, instead of thinking about that, they're just like, here's an open world, and this is a world like a Witcher 3 or Tomb Raider where you get to do anything you want whenever you want. And
there's not a whole lot of guidance.
There's sometimes none. Yeah. Environmental guidance is really cool though, because in The Witcher 3 they make it so like they know you're going to go this way, and then you're going to see something on the shore, and that's glowing. Then you go, the enemies.
Okay. Yeah, right.
They'll think about that, but again, that's a game you could just suck in 500, 1,000 hours.
I appreciate games like that you do have to be dedicated to. I also appreciate games I know that I'm going to get through in a certain amount of time. Like
same. 10 hours is a sweet spot for me, dude.
What Jedi Fallen Order. I played it recently.
What'd you think?
I finished it, and I appreciated that it by the time it was over, I was kind of ready for it to be over.
That's good.
Now there were some times that not in a bad way, you know. I was just like, okay, it's over. There were still some, you know, you can travel back to some of the old planets and like, you know, find some of the other secrets and stuff. And I'm like, but no, I'm moving on. But story's over. I'm moving on.
I'm with you.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But I thought it was a great game. I love the story. I don't think the gameplay would be for everything. I really wasn't sure what to expect when I went into it.
Yeah. Talk about a gamer's game.
Yeah. Yeah. And it kind of reminded me a lot of like Prince of Persia.
Oh, absolutely.
And that was one of my favorite games on, I think it was PS2.
Dude,
Prince of Persia.
Funny story. Yeah. That year, I remember it vividly because you're talking about the Sands of Time.
Yeah.
Oh, bro.
Yeah.
Okay, so get this. Christmas, my mom was like, October.
Yeah.
What do you want for Christmas?
Right.
And she's like, you're going to get a good Christmas. So tell me what you want, you know, pretty detailed. And I was like, okay, I want Call of Duty. That was number one.
Yeah.
And then after that, you know, I listed 2 other games that I just heard of.
Yeah.
You know, but I really wanted Call of Duty.
Yeah.
And the 2 of the games were Need for Speed, Underground.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? And then Sands of Time.
Okay.
My mom didn't get me Call of Duty because I think it was at the time too bloody or too violent.
Okay. Yeah.
So she got me Need for Speed Underground and Sands of Time.
Yeah.
I could give 2 shits less about those 2 games.
Yeah.
I really wanted Call of Duty. So Christmas came around. I was really upset.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, fuck it. I'm just going to play Sands of Time, I guess.
You got it.
Yeah.
Give it a shot.
But then as I played it, I was like, this game is unreal.
Yeah, the jumping around, climbing, puzzles.
There wasn't a game
wall running.
Yeah.
It was. I've never seen anything like that before when I played it.
And I don't think a game up until that point did that. And now that's in everything. In Fallen Order.
Yeah.
In all the Uncharted, climbing.
Yeah.
Using
Tomb Raider has a lot of that in there now.
Yeah.
God of War.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's one thing that I think Sony has right, even though I'm not a really big fan of Sony anymore. That's one thing that they do right is tell good stories, and they're starting to what we were talking about, you know, getting their rhythm.
Yeah.
Now they're getting their rhythm. You know, Uncharted kind of perfected it.
Yeah.
And then they took that third person rhythm in with Last of Us.
Okay.
And they were like, well, why don't we make everything like this? Because you know, people enjoy stories, but they also enjoy open worlds, and they enjoy this cinematic third person view. God of War.
Yeah.
Now they have that where it's like if you play that, and that's not like the other God of War games at all.
Yeah.
Now it's like this Sony.
I got you.
This Sony IP.
Yeah, I hadn't played the new one. I played all of the old ones.
Oh, you'd love the new one.
I hadn't played the new one. I heard it was good.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. It's like Uncharted or Horizon.
Okay.
Or Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Or the new Last of Us.
Yeah.
Or Ghost of Tsushima that hasn't come out.
Right.
Anything Sony now, in my mind, you can expect a level of production that is going to rival anything out in the market almost.
Yeah.
You know, but dude, you'd love it.
Okay.
From a writing perspective too, like that's a game in my mind where, again, I think they did a great job of, like, in thinking about design.
Yeah.
In my mind, you can have an open world.
Yeah.
You know, but if you're going to tell a story and you have to take gamers into consideration about how they like to play games.
Right.
You know, it sounds like you, but definitely for me, where it's like all these question marks gone and then move on.
Right.
They take that consideration.
Yeah.
So they're like, all right, here's the first act. Let's develop the story. Let's develop where Kratos and the boy is.
Right.
And let's have all these question marks, but only on a linear path.
Yeah.
Then Act 2. Same thing. A little bigger linear path.
Yeah.
You know, but there's 2 paths.
Right.
Right. Still linear.
Yeah.
Still enough for you to get your hands on.
Yeah.
And then both of these paths leads to a third.
Yeah.
That's bigger. Right.
Right.
And then there's more branching paths, but not an ungodly amount.
Yeah.
You know, maybe like 6. But 6 paths, that's a lot from a gaming perspective.
Yeah.
I think they played it really smart, and that's why I think a lot of people really think that game is a Game of the Year game for them.
I got you.
It's because unlike Witcher 3,
Yeah.
it's not overwhelming where you're 70 hours in. I think I clocked in 70 hours on that game.
And you're like, I'm only level 15?
Jeez Louise. Yeah, no, by that point, you're close to the end.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a fan of long form gaming, but to your point, I'm playing what is it called? A Plague Tale. Have you heard of that game?
No.
Oh, bro.
Yeah.
Again, like this format where it's third person cinema.
Yeah.
an independent studio or a smaller studio, Don't Nod.
Yeah.
They did this game, and it's the same, where it's like, all right, here's a little area, story, little bit of question marks.
Right.
It's 8-10 hours. That to me is like the sweet spot for a short form game.
Well, one thing I really like in a lot of games, and this is probably about the one thing I didn't like about Fallen Order. And it's not a problem. It's just what I prefer.
Okay.
I prefer games that I feel like when I do things, it does kind of shape the world and the game experience and the ending and stuff.
Absolutely.
I mean, Fallen Order, you're not going to say something wrong. Sure. You're gonna follow the path. You're gonna do your thing. Great fun. I loved it. I recommend it for anybody. I do appreciate a lot of the open world games too. I mean, Elder Scrolls, a huge fan of Elder Scrolls.
Talk about a different kind of game, though.
Yeah.
Like, I'm with you.
Right.
Love Skyrim.
Oh, Skyrim, probably one of my top 5, maybe 3 games of all time.
But is that the same reason for the Fallen Order why you like it?
Right, exactly. Yeah. I mean, you get the choices that you make and stuff. I mean, Fallout games, similar thing, I mean, with the different ending. I mean, even Skyrim, I mean, for the most part, it's going to have the same kind of ending. You can make a few choices here and there.
But it's not really about that.
Right, it's not. But The Witcher has a lot of the, what you do really matters. And I like
choice.
That. Yeah, choice matters. So, I think I can appreciate a lot of games in a lot of different ways. Sometimes I want to be a little linear. Let's get through it. Let's play it. Let's get a good story. Cool. I like it. That looks good.
Yeah.
And I do like the open world stuff, and I like ones that you can make choices on as well. So
I mean,
it just depends.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. That's one thing I really want to get into too.
Yeah.
Like for the past 4 years, I've been drawing. And what really got me into that whole thing is like, I want to make a video game.
Yeah.
I want to fucking make a video game. And, I have all these very vivid ideas.
Well,
that
if you got to make a video game tomorrow,
okay.
So a studio came to you and they said, you
Let's
got
do
the
it.
money,
Uh-huh.
you got the crew. What type of game? I'm not talking about like what's the story.
Absolutely.
I'm just saying like what type of game, what sort of play, something completely different
Absolutely.
or a style that you like. What would you do?
I don't want to ruin too much because I've been working on one for the past few years,
Yeah.
but I will let you know. Okay, it's going to be a game where it's a side scroller.
Okay.
And innovating what a side scroller is.
Okay.
Right.
So
Like,
a side scroller, but a new way to do it.
absolutely.
I love it.
Simple mechanics.
Yeah.
And to your point, and like Ryan Johnson's point, subverting expectations. Like,
Yeah.
what is a side scroller to you? You're going to get introduced to what typical side scroller
Yeah.
you would get.
Right.
Platforming. That's Metroidvania.
Right.
you
Right.
know? But then implementing things that haven't really been done on a side scroller at all. Like, I'm a big fan of that's. If I were to think about one of my favorite genres,
Yeah.
it would be a Metroidvania side scroller.
Okay. Yeah.
One of my favorites.
Yeah.
But very difficult to get right.
Yeah.
Like Hollow Knight came out.
Right.
Loved Hollow Knight.
Yeah.
But in my mind, it had the same problems as The Witcher 3.
Okay.
It was long-winded.
Right.
It gave too much player choice.
Yeah.
People are going to argue with me on this. But I mean, I'm sorry, dude.
Yeah.
Like, in my mind, you have to make it where, my curiosity can't exhaust me.
I gotcha.
And that's my biggest issue with
Yeah.
those games is I love them.
Yeah.
But you're going to get to a point where you're burnt out of doing
Yeah.
something. Your mind forgets where the story's going.
True.
And then you're like, well, I might as well just pick it up later. I'm not going to
Yeah.
spend 3 hours
Hey,
trying
dude,
to find
you are not going to pick it up later.
It
I've
depends.
discovered that with games like that. It's like, you're like, I'll pick it up later. I'll do something. You come back, you have no idea where you're at in the story.
Absolutely.
You almost got this learning curve of the controls again. And
Absolutely.
what powers do I have?
Yeah.
What was my goal before?
It's tough. And that's so common.
And then you start back over.
Yeah, that's the bad thing too. Is like I'll get in a very vanity focused mindset,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, if I'm gonna play this, I'm gonna start from the beginning. I forget anything anyway.
Yeah.
and I'm gonna do 100% this time.
Yeah. No, you ain't gonna do 100%.
and if you do, you're gonna
You're
regret
gonna really
it.
burn out, man.
Yeah, well, it depends. Like my favorite games in the past few years, number one top games of the year.
Yeah.
Like 2018 was Celeste.
Okay.
Right? Have you played that?
No.
Phenomenal. Like I'm a big fan. Right now, it's my favorite console of all time.
Yeah.
The Nintendo Switch.
Really?
Absolutely.
Yeah. We just got one for Christmas.
bro. It's in my mind the best console from a gamer.
Really?
Yeah, because like I don't care about graphics.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about any of those technical things that a lot of gamers seem to care about, or companies seem to think gamers care about.
Yeah.
I care about being able to play a game anywhere I want, anytime I want.
Okay.
And I want it to be, what from a creative vision perspective, a developer means to make.
Okay.
So in my mind, the best kind of experiences, film, book, or otherwise, are made with limitations.
I got
and
you.
so in my mind, the biggest limitation from the Nintendo Switch is going to be the hardware.
Mm-hmm.
So if a developer can overlook that and still make a phenomenal game,
Right.
or make their game work, like they just released Alien Isolation.
Right.
That's the closest to Dead Space I'm going to get on the
Yeah.
Switch for now.
Yeah. They got that on the Switch
It's
now.
on the Switch. Dude,
Well, that's cool.
that's crazy.
Yeah. I played it on PS4 a year or two ago when it first came out.
Yeah. And to that point, I had to put it down because it was a little long-winded.
Yeah.
Love the game.
Pretty tough too.
Tough.
And I'll say it, very frustrating.
I can see that.
And
Absolutely.
There's sometimes I thought about just stopping because
Well, that's how the Dark Souls games are too.
Yeah. Well, I've heard the same thing. I've never played Dark Souls. Everybody says I need to do it because here's the thing when it comes to games. I like to jack the difficulty up to max.
Absolutely.
I mean, like,
Absolutely.
crazy death mode.
Oh, yeah.
And
It's a challenge.
Yeah, and it's a challenge to me. My wife doesn't understand why I like getting killed every 5 minutes, having to restart back from the last save or something.
Right.
But I'm like, I don't know. There's this gamer inside of me that just wants to challenge through
Absolutely.
and get through it. So, Alien Isolation, a bit jumpy. I'm talking like me jumping.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's a good thing.
But it ended up, there's a few times that it was very frustrating and sometimes there gets to be a point where it's too frustrating. I'm not having fun.
Yeah.
But, eventually though, when you figure out a system or a way around it, you're very proud. It's a good.
Right. That's how I felt about Bloodborne.
Okay.
I never got into I played Demon Souls.
Yeah.
Got super into it.
Okay.
But I, again, burned myself out just because I was playing it my way. That's one thing that I learned with, at least learned. I came to the conclusion of how I view it.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a good question. Do you think that there's a wrong way to play a video game?
Is there a wrong way to play it?
I make a video game. We make a video game. Yeah. And we put all our heart and soul into it. 6 years goes by. Bam, it's a hit.
Yeah.
But it's divisive.
Okay.
Right? Gamers don't like it.
Okay.
But it sells well. And now we get to do a sequel. But the gamers don't like blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Is it because it's our fault?
Yeah.
Is it the way we designed it?
I see.
Or is it the way that they're playing it?
Yeah.
Because that's how Dark Souls got its popularity.
Okay.
Or Demon Souls. A lot of gamers were playing it.
Yeah.
But only a few very dedicated players were like, get good.
Yeah. I don't think you can ever blame the audience for playing a game a certain way. Same thing with movies. You can't blame an audience for understanding your story or getting it or not getting it or taking away or not taking away. I actually do place a lot of the blame of problems with games or movies, not on the audience, on the creators. Maybe that's just, I'm a creator myself, as you are, and I'm very hard on myself when it comes to like somebody watching something.
Absolutely.
The most nerve-wracking I ever get is when I'm at a premiere for my own film.
Oh, yes.
When my film's rolling, I'm actually not enjoying things very much. I'm sitting there just like this, and I'm like, please laugh at the right moments. Please jump at the right moments.
Yeah.
Because you just don't know if you have done what you set out to accomplish. And you cannot blame the audience for that. So if you make a game and the audience plays it wrong and they don't like it because of that, I think that's more of the creator's fault, because if you have a way they need to play it, you need to make sure that you block off and make sure it can only be played that way. If that's how you're going to be.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I completely agree, because there was this topic going around when I got into Bloodborne.
Yeah.
Because I played the game and I got up to a point and I was just like you.
Yeah.
I'm not having fun with this.
Okay.
I'm not enjoying this. Fuck this game.
Yeah.
Honestly. And something happened where, a friend of mine was like, already beat it.
Okay.
And he's like, dude, just get through it.
Yeah.
You're playing it wrong. I'm like, playing it wrong?
Yeah.
What the hell are you talking about?
Okay.
I'm playing it like I'm playing Dark Souls or something.
Right.
Like you're supposed to be careful and evade and all this. And he's like, no, dude, you're not meant to do that at all. Do you have a shield? No, I don't have a shield. He's like, okay, so what's the second thing that they teach you to do?
Yeah.
Well, they teach you to move, then they teach you to, use your melee weapon in 2 different ways.
Yeah.
And then they teach you to parry. And he's like, then fucking parry, bitch.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Quit dodging and blocking and parry.
Parry.
I got you.
That's one reason, like, I got really, really into Bloodborne is once I got out of the way I was playing it and then played it the way the developer intended, then I had a blast.
Yeah.
Because it's meant to be played very arcadey and very, like, if you get hit, you're not supposed to dodge away and heal.
Okay.
Like, they made this mechanic where you get hit, you lose your health, but you have time to get that health back. Yeah. You have to attack right then and there.
Okay.
And dodging around and then attacking, learning your enemy's movements.
Yeah.
It's a very assault heavy game.
Yeah.
And that's how the Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2 Demon Souls players got good.
Okay.
Is that you're not supposed to be here dodging. Yeah. You're supposed to be watching, bam, being aggressive.
Yeah.
And being, it's the best offense is the defense, but in these games that's not the case.
Yeah.
So it was my fault, but in my mind.
Yeah.
But then to your point, if the developer doesn't tell you, how are you supposed to know?
Right. Yeah, you don't. You just go into it because of whatever game knowledge you have from previous games.
Sure.
Like, okay, well, so when I was playing Jedi Fallen Order,
sure,
I ran into a very similar situation. I got on there, I had a lightsaber. I'm like, I'm just going to just run right in there and just slash.
Fuck them all up.
No, you can't do it.
No.
Because they just all jump on you. So instead, I'll run in there. I'm looking at, how many people I got. Mm-hmm. And I realized, especially during boss battles, you can't just slash.
No.
You got to wait for them to kind of do the right attack.
Mm-hmm. Watch them.
Yeah. And kind of learn their moves, which I think is a very gamer thing. That goes back old school games.
Oh, yeah.
Figure out the boss's moves and how to defeat that move.
Absolutely.
And so, you watch the boss, they come over. Oh, every time he does this type of slash, he lands on the ground and he's kind of stunned himself for a couple seconds. That's the time for me to attack. Then I back off and I block. Yeah. I get ready to roll out of the way.
Right.
It's not just full force into there. You didn't really know that going into it. They just kind of drop you off and they're like, here's a lightsaber, go jump around on some cliffs.
Right.
And it wasn't until I'm like, man, random beetle bug over here is, kicking
hard
my butt,
as
man.
Hell. Dude, I think
until I realized, okay, I need to block, jump, slash.
Right.
Watch out, not let them get up on
Dodge.
me. Yeah.
Watch for anticipation.
Right, exactly.
And then make that move.
And run when you need to.
Absolutely. Yeah, don't I know it?
Yeah. If you're not ready for it, run, man. Just run. I didn't avoid a whole lot of fights, but there were some times that I'm like, I'm not getting past this guy. I'm running.
Yeah.
I'm gone.
Absolutely.
But no, I hear you. I mean, is that my fault as the gamer that I played it like that? No. Is it the developer's fault that I played it like that? No. I think it's just that you as a gamer end up learning those things. Mm-hmm. But if it's something that is totally game breaking, that's a developer issue.
I agree.
If it's game breaking for you, you actually can't play.
Yeah.
But I think hopefully all games are developed so that if there's a mechanic that's different than what people are used to, or even if it's what they used to, because what are you used to? There's so many different ways to play different games. But just that as a gamer, it's kind of your job to sort of figure out how you're going to get through the world.
Absolutely.
But if it's a game breaking thing, that's a developer issue.
Yeah.
All the way.
I can dig it, man. I can dig it. I'm with you. Because, and some of these games get popular because they're so difficult.
Yeah.
Like Cuphead. You ever play that?
No.
It's a lot of fun.
Really?
But it's simple because it's just a side scroller.
Okay.
It's almost like an old, shoot 'em up, shmup.
Okay.
Right? So you're like a ship.
Okay.
Or something, and you get to have complete vertical control,
Okay.
and then you just shoot your bullets.
I got you.
And then you have the enemies just pop up.
Yeah.
And in the background, it's moving, and it's like you're going through the level. That's
Okay.
kind of how Cuphead is, except you're not going the whole time up and down.
Yeah.
You're basically just scrolling.
I got you.
And doing some platforming.
Yeah.
It's difficult because you hit 2 times and you're done.
Okay.
Yeah. But it got popular because it was difficult.
Right.
And that's something that people really enjoyed about it. But it's funny that if you don't get that balance just right.
Well, what do you think about games that because this is something that I've noticed on newer games is you get difficulty modes. Now, back in the day, you didn't have a choice. It was what it was.
I prefer that.
Yeah,
dude.
but these days, you get some difficulty modes. And a lot of times I find myself going, do I want to do the thing where they hit me once and I die, but I got to hit them 10 times? Sure, I'll give it a shot. Now, especially if I can bring it down later, because if it's just frustrating, I'm not having fun, sure, I'll knock it down a level.
Yeah.
But what about the settings of story mode? I've noticed that on a lot of games lately is people that just want the video game story. It's like they put it on story mode. I've never played it. I can only assume that it's like you're like One Punch Man or on it or something.
It's very simple.
I mean, I guess it's up to the player. I mean, right? I mean, you can't really fault somebody for playing a game how they want to play it.
No, but I can see from a gamer perspective why that is controversial.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, if I'm making a game,
Yeah.
Fuck your comfort. You're playing the game as I intended.
Right.
There's no, whenever I develop a game, there's never going to be a difficulty.
Yeah.
Ever. I don't care about your accessibility.
Because it is what it is.
Right. And honestly, you're kind of putting pressure on yourself to make it so it's acceptable for anyone.
Yeah.
So you're making it so it's accessible to any gamer.
Right.
Number 1. That to me is the most important.
Yeah.
Number 2 is you're making it so the gamer is making the challenge for themselves.
Right.
That's why in my mind in 2018, Celeste was my game of the year.
Yeah.
I was going through a lot of emotional stuff.
Right.
At that time, not afraid to admit it. The game is about that.
Okay.
So from a thematic standpoint,
Right.
Your character is climbing a mountain.
Yeah.
That's the whole purpose of the game from a plot perspective. So visually, we're platforming and we're getting to the top of the mountain.
Okay.
Emotionally, it's the same thing.
I gotcha.
You're right. You're climbing your mountain in your head.
Oh,
whatever that is.
Yeah.
You can do it.
Yeah.
It's going to be easy or hard.
Yeah.
The harder it is, the more rewarding.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And that to me is one of the perfect games in the past 10 years.
Yeah.
Because you can climb the mountain and get done with it quickly.
Yeah.
But you don't get, unless you challenge yourself, you're not going to 100% it, which means you're not going to be able to experience the game as it's intended.
Yeah.
From a holistic perspective.
Right. Right.
But what's in my mind perfect about the game is that, all right, so we have a level A, B. Okay. So A to B, you can go hop, hop, hop.
Yeah.
You're done.
Right.
All right. So from a developer perspective, accessibility.
Right.
But now we get to the challenging part where it's hop, hop, and now we have a new area. An area that is not required to get to this. But if you go through it, it's going to make getting this and all the other ones easier.
Right. I get it.
That's the gamer.
Yeah.
That's that's how you make it so gamers appreciate this.
It's
game
worth
more.
it to do something other than just main story.
And gamers are going to want that anyway.
Yeah.
They're going to want to be like, well, what's over here?
Yeah.
So if you make that part challenging, maybe damning.
Yeah. Gamers are exploratory.
Absolutely. I found a funny meme that explains it perfectly where, it has like an outlet of it looks like a mall.
Yeah.
And you'll be like girlfriend at the mall and they go through each store and you see the path that they go.
Yeah.
And then their boyfriend's just like right here. And then you go to a video game and the girl is just right here.
Yeah.
And the guy's going through
everywhere else. I get to the main quest later.
Right.
Oh, that's an emergency. That's okay. I got some side quests and I got to do.
Right.
Now here, I do wonder if difficulty settings on games is a way to sell to more audiences. I mean, if you look at things like TVs, books, movies, there's not like an understanding level on those.
It depends.
It's what it is.
I agree, but
the creator makes it, and either
you get it or you don't.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, to that point, I was reading this book called Independent People.
Yeah.
And it was written in the 40s. It's it's too slow paced for me.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's eloquently put.
Okay.
But if I were thinking a book nerd as a gamer, this would be Dark Souls in book form.
Okay.
It was a hard read, man.
Okay.
It was very difficult.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good way to equate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, I think there's so many people that come into gaming too that may be more familiar with cell phone games or something,
Sure.
So maybe it's an appeal to broader audiences. Now, I will say I do appreciate it when I play a game that is moderately difficult and I really get the hang of it and I want to bump up the difficulty on it.
Sure.
So I appreciate that too. So I don't think difficulty levels are the worst thing for games.
Sure.
I can understand why people will be apprehensive about it, but I find it just more, for me, I have no idea which level I'm supposed to set this thing to.
Right.
If you're, experienced at hack and slash and do this, I guess that's me.
Yeah.
But
then there's so many different hack and slash.
Yeah.
There's like Bayonetta.
What it really is are you familiar with this game? Because you could go into, this game and it's completely different, mechanics. And it's,
well, what's your favorite kind of genre?
Video game?
Yeah. Because I get in moods. Sometimes I'm like 2D platformer, Metroidvania. Right. Sometimes I'm like, point and click.
Right. I'd probably say there's about 2 different moods that I get in. Most of the time, I'm very much into anything that's like fantasy, magic, swords kind of game, adventure games. RPG kind of stuff, Okay. Sometimes MMO. The wife and I play a lot of Elder Scrolls Online.
That. Yeah.
I mean, she's a fanatic about it, and I jump on it once in a while, do some dungeons with her. But those are probably my favorites. But then my second mood is first-person shooters, typically war games. Like used to be Call of Duty, but for the most part, my go-to is Battlefield. That's usually what I like to go to.
Uber realistic.
Yeah. Now, speaking of that, uber realistic, that reminds me of something that you had said about graphics and stuff. Is I agree with you. It's not all about the graphics, but I do appreciate when they have go to some trouble to either make good graphics or something unique. I think of like Borderlands as being one of my favorite games of all time.
Oh yeah,
that cell shading thing.
Yeah,
I've never seen that before until that came out.
Absolutely,
and I see a few games trying to do that now, but I like that art style. It's not like it's good graphics. It's just a different, and I love that. So, that's another first-person shooter / sorta RPG in a way, because you level up, you get different guns, you level your guns and your character and stuff. Even though the story is technically, I know it's open world, but they got you on the path.
It definitely is.
But
I think that's the game that kind of popularized loot. Loot hunting.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the part of the game, right? It's
right.
Like loot.
Yeah. Always looting.
And I think a lot of games now, Destiny, these lifestyle games that come out and they're meant to be played for years.
Yeah.
Warframe. It's all about chasing loot. The new guns dropped.
The new armor.
Yeah.
Man, that's the problem that I always found with Elder Scrolls games. That Skyrim, that's Elder Scrolls Online, is anything, or Fallout. It's like, I get to be a loot maniac and a little bit of a hoarder. And I'm like, do I want to let this go? I might need this later. And I find myself getting so entrenched in my inventory that I'm like, am I playing the game or am I just organizing inventory?
Well, that's a part of the game.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you know what? You're always thinking, well, I'm getting my butt kicked over here. Maybe I need to change something up.
Yeah.
And you're changing up your weapon and your armors and stuff. But no, those are the kind of games that I'm really into. I have played things like racing games and some sports games in the past, but it's not very often. It's not a thing I normally go to. If it's sci-fi, fantasy, or shooting somebody, I'm pretty into it.
Yeah. I'm with you, man. I'm with you. Like, again, I get in moods, and it's interesting you mention it because I haven't played a good racing game in a while.
Yeah.
I think the last one I did play was on the Vita.
I just felt like racing games to me just end up being Forza was probably the last one I played, and that was like Xbox 360. And I just felt like a lot of times they just end up feeling the same.
I can agree.
You know,
I mean,
I'm like, yeah, you can upgrade, get you a cooler, better looking car or something, but overall, I don't know. They just never really held my attention that much. Mario Kart's a little different. I like going back Mario Kart style.
That's more arcadey though.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Like, because a lot of racing games now either do it where they have tracks, like in Mario Kart.
Yeah.
But I think most of the time they're like, oh, here's an open world.
Yeah.
I think that was popular for a minute.
Yeah.
Whereas like, well, the whole world is a racetrack.
Yeah.
And then in there you go to a stoplight and this is the track.
Yeah.
And then you have other games like GTA or GTA.
Yeah.
Where the racing is just one of the 100 mechanics.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I'll say Grand Theft Auto is one of my favorite games too.
Did you play Red Dead 2?
I did play Red Dead 2 as well.
What did you think, dude?
Red Dead 2 is an amazing game. I will say, I think I'm almost right at the end and haven't finished it. You know what happened to me?
No.
I got caught up in hunting and fishing.
Those fucking question marks,
man. Yeah, it's the question marks. It's the legendary things, man. I heard about some legendary crocodile, and I won't look up things online about where to find stuff. I feel like it defeats me if I. To me, that's like a cheating thing, but that's a personal thing. If somebody else wants to do it, fine. But for me,
absolutely,
I do not want to look. I heard there's the legendary crocodile.
Absolutely,
it's not on the map.
Right.
You know, I hear the NPCs talking about it.
And you see it in one of the missions, I think.
And I never could find it, man.
Really?
Dude,
it's out there, buddy. It's waiting for you.
So many hours looking for it. And then I'm like, I'm wondering, am I gaming? I'm just walking around a swamp killing random alligators at this point.
That's gaming, bro.
But no,
that's a part of the game.
Red Dead, you know, the story on it, amazing.
Another one that pulled me, man. Pulled my heartstrings.
Exactly. And it's open world, and I know they send you to some camps and stuff, and you kind of got, you know, your task that you got to get to in your main story and a few side quests. But
well, how far are you in? Like, do you remember the last story beat?
I'm trying to remember what I don't really remember. It's been a while now. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
I know we had moved camp like 2 or 3 times.
Okay. So it's been a minute.
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. Okay.
But I know I've gotten through, you know, most of it according to what other people have said.
Gotcha.
I'm like, yeah, I recognize that part of the story.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no spoilers.
No spoilers. No.
Absolutely not.
No, but,
absolutely not. Because I'm with you, man.
Right. And I played the first Red Dead all the way through, the old one.
Absolutely.
Back in the day, and I loved it too.
Same, man. There's something about westerns that suck me in.
Yeah. And there's not a lot of Western video games.
I think it's probably very difficult to do.
You think so?
Yeah, because I mean, westerns have been done to death.
Yeah.
In anything and everything.
Right.
You know, and now it's almost popular to make Western the visual and the editing way. So like the new Mandalorian.
Yeah.
It's a Western.
Yeah.
You've seen it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Watched through the whole thing. Loved it.
Then what do you agree? It's It's Cowboy Bebop. It's a space Western.
Yeah, it's a space Western. I mean, Firefly was a similar thing. I mean, literally they had revolver guns.
Right.
And spaceships.
Right. So I mean, I think that's where the genre has went. But whenever you think about, to me, Rockstar, like if I were to think about freedom of expression and who's out there creating something that in my mind is both popular and satisfies critics and audiences alike, but also pushes boundaries from a developer standpoint. Rockstar has it hands down because they take whatever time they want. They have I don't even know how much money they've made because I think 1 year GTA 5 Online made $1 billion.
Whew, man.
And Red Dead 2 was on, was cooking in the oven for 7 years. Think about that. 7 years.
Right.
A team of almost 2,000 people.
Right. They better make their money back on that.
Well, I don't think they gave a shit, dude.
Yeah.
Think about it. 7 years to create a game just to have all of those things be so spot on.
And I'll say this about Rockstar too is they're not afraid to do things that could be taboo.
Oh, absolutely.
Now
I love that.
Now I don't play games and go,
dude.
Yeah, well, I don't go play a game and like, oh, this is gonna be messed up. I don't do it because it's gonna be messed up. I don't do it because it's gonna be taboo. But I appreciate that the game and the story is what it is. They don't water it down.
Right.
So I mean, even in Red Dead 2, there's some pretty messed up things.
But I love, to your point, I love that.
Yeah.
I think it's important.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's
and Grand Theft Auto. I mean, every time one comes out.
Oh,
man,
yeah.
You know,
there's controversies of like, should our kids be playing this?
Yeah.
Did you know that, you know, these guys have access to this? Oh, the guy that committed this shooting was playing Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, yeah.
And they were smoking weed. Oh,
yeah.
my Lord. I'm with you, man. I'm not a fan of censorship of any kind.
No, I agree with you.
You know, even if it is taboo or even if it's, you know, incites cancel culture.
Yeah.
I think it's like comedy. Either everything's funny or nothing is.
Yeah.
You can't tell someone they can't make something just because it's going to be damaging to kids' minds.
Yeah.
In my mind, anyway.
Yeah. Well, I've always felt like it was censorship should be done on the parental side of things. You know, if the game,
Lord,
if the game,
dude,
if you don't want your kid playing that game, the kid doesn't play the game. I really am not a big fan of the government, you know, telling people, protecting people from themselves.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I absolutely agree.
The government does not need to raise my kids or anybody else's kids.
Or to that point, I don't think it's fair for one group of parents, no matter how big or small, making a complaint and then a company or the government stepping back and punishing everyone for what a few people find to be offensive.
Yeah.
You know, that's all around culture right now, dude. I mean, what do you think about that shit? Where like James Gunn, you know, made some jokes years ago that he already apologized about.
Yeah.
And sure, they were insensitive.
Yeah.
You can even think they weren't funny.
Right.
But that doesn't give you the right to silence, steal his job.
Yeah.
I mean, things worked out best for him.
Yeah,
dude.
they did.
Like,
they did. I mean,
come on,
he came out on top anyways.
He gets
and it wasn't because of that. It's just, you know, I don't know. I mean, I've always liked James Gunn. I think he's great. I love his films, but no, I'm not a big fan of the censorship things either.
Absolutely.
Or people, you know, trying to dump on somebody because of old comments or something. I mean, you look back at like so many movies or TV shows. I've watched some older ones. I'm like, dude, this would not fly today. This would be controversial today, which is odd. You would think as time went on, things would be less controversial.
Absolutely. Like movies that haven't even been 10 years old yet.
Yeah.
I think I was watching Dinner with the Schmucks.
Yeah.
You know, Steve Carell and Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
You know, the guy, I think Paul Rudd, it was either that or Role Models, but not even 10 years old.
Right.
And he was like, oh, that's gay.
Yeah.
Dude, that would not fly today.
Yeah. Well,
you can't say that.
We were just watching The Office the other day.
Shit.
And I was like, first season of The Office, I was like, I'm surprised that this thing is even still streaming.
Same, man. Dwight says one of my favorite things, and I think, you know, male and women jokes, hilarious.
Yeah.
Racial jokes can be really funny.
Okay.
Like he says one where he's like, well, first you have to get the black people to do it. That means then the white people will do it. And then you have to make it so the black people stop doing it. But one step at a time.
Would not fly today, man. Would not work.
No, not at all. But what would be interesting is the outrage wouldn't be coming from the black community. I think it'd be coming from the offended people for the black community, because that to me happens quite a bit.
Yeah, I understand.
You know, like, I'm offended for this person.
Yeah.
Cultural appropriation.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? Or I'm not a fan of that.
No, I'm not either. You know, speaking of people stepping in, our first season of Horror Hotel, we usually try to do like some social commentary stuff here and there and there.
Okay.
And one of them was we had the food Nazis in it.
Okay.
I mean, Nazis would not fly today in general. We actually had Nazis in a couple episodes in some early seasons.
Right.
But always the bad guys, of course. But
sure.
But the idea was that these Nazis in it, the government had decided that this type of food is okay to eat. Big slurpy gulp drinks are not. The government's looking out for the people's health,
the well-being.
Yeah. And so that was the thing with the food Nazis was if you're caught, eating cookies and drinking the big Slurpee thing, the food Nazis are going to come and take you away. And it was a little bit of social commentary based on,
I love that.
Because back then, there's a lot of stuff where they were talking about, outlawing certain foods here and there. You remember that?
Absolutely.
And so that was the same thing. It's like,
or the sizes of drinks.
If you do that, I mean, is the government really deciding that sort of thing,
No, I agree, dude. I kind of feel like that about private corporations too.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because Twitter came out and said just a few weeks ago or a couple of months ago that it's banning all political ads.
Okay.
So in essence, they're dictating what you can see on their platform.
Right.
Which one could argue the debate where it's, considered like the internet. It's a utility.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it, man. Are you on Twitter?
Technically, yes. But I don't do a lot on there, but I will look some things up.
But you're on Facebook.
I am.
Yeah. Well, now Facebook is not going to ban political ads. Right. And I have to agree with Mark Zuckerberg where he's like, it's not incumbent on me to censor anyone.
Yeah.
It's up to whoever is consuming or using my platform to make their decisions themselves.
Well, it brings up an interesting question, which is because honestly, I don't know if I have an opinion on this because I'm not sure what the right answer is. Sure. Is you take somebody like Facebook or Twitter and they say, we will ban these sorts of things or behavior. We won't ban these certain things or behavior. I mean, you have free speech here in America.
We're supposed to.
Right. But those are also platforms that are owned by a company. Do they have the right to decide that? Or you see what I'm saying? Like,
I completely agree, dude.
Because I prefer that, there is no censorship, free speech across the board.
Absolutely.
But I'm not sure that I can say, if Twitter wants to ban this sort of thing, that I can say you can't, because it is there. They own that.
A private corporation.
And the reason I can support that is because if they lost, their subscribers, or somebody else will come along that has a similar, post about what's going on in your day site.
Right.
And they will say, we won't ban stuff. And then they'll take up.
Well, that's exactly. Yeah,
so it's kind of a free market thing. So
absolutely.
If a platform wants to ban certain stuff, I don't have as much of a problem with it because I feel like there's a big issue. Other people will take it up and go.
Absolutely.
I mean, you look at Reddit, doesn't really ban anything.
Thank God.
Anything goes, right?
I'm happy about it, too.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. But, if Reddit decided to start banning certain stuff, it'd be like, man, that sucks. I always thought they were a little more, free-willing than that. But if they do,
the market will speak.
Exactly. So I'm a firm believer in free speech, that things shouldn't be banned.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I also know that a lot of platforms are owned by people or companies, and they can make their own rules too.
Well, I mean, now, do you think that translates to you and your work at all? Have you ever been like, well, maybe I shouldn't put that on there because it's taboo, or maybe the audience won't like it, or maybe I don't want to push what some people would think would be an agenda into something that I'm doing?
No, it's interesting you bring that up because, and this is not a story. I don't think I've ever told anybody this story.
Ooh,
but it's
Santos exclusive.
Exclusive. But since we're kind of on this topic, and I think people listening will sort of understand where we're coming from on this. In Horror Hotel, the very first episode we were going to shoot, in it, the cowboy guy that owned an android servant that was a girl named Skinny. Now, he was kind of abusive to her because he kind of viewed her as a machine and not a person,
Sure.
So he was fine whacking her around, and then in the episode, he even smacks her across the head, it tears open part of her face and stuff.
Sure.
So when we were casting for it, in Horror Hotel, we've always been really like anybody of any race can come in here and do it. I've never cared about sexual orientation, race, usually only age when it had to do with, a character needs to be a, older person, younger person, that sort of thing. But for the most part, we've never really cared about that. I've always wanted all sorts of people to come in there. It didn't matter to me.
Sure.
I always believed in casting the best person for the job, no matter what. I feel like that in Hollywood anyways. Whenever I see people cast, they're like, that shouldn't be a black person. That shouldn't be a white person. For the most part, I'm like, I only have a problem if it's not the right person for it. And they're not good for that part.
From a skill perspective.
Exactly. So, but in this first episode though, we had decided we can't cast a black girl for this role because this is a white cowboy guy beating on his slave android, essentially. That's what she is. She's like, he owns her. And we just thought that would just send kind of a bad message, or people could take it wrong. And some people could take it as, oh, well, it's a message, that, well, she's an android, so it's taken a different way. But we were concerned that people would think that we're saying it's okay for, white guys to own a black slave and beat them. Sure. We didn't want that. So we were conscious to say we don't need to cast a black person for this because there is that history there and people could take it wrong. So yes, to your point, there's been times that I've had to think about, how is the audience going to take this? Is this going to be something that's taken wrong? And it's not so much that I'm worried about what they think of me as a person.
Sure.
I just don't want people to take it wrong. Does that make sense?
No. I agree, man.
So yeah, I've thought about it in that way. And that's something that that I'd think about sometimes, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's a tough line to ride, man. 'Cause I mean, to your point, that's an interesting example. In my mind, I guess you have to think about the story you're trying to tell.
Right.
Because I mean, if you go into it, let's say, if you don't mind, can we expand on this?
Yes. Yeah, please do.
Okay. So let's hypothetically say you did cast a black girl and a white guy. Mm-hmm. Does it then turn into a commentary about how back then people viewed slaves as not real people?
Right.
I mean, if you go into it with that kind of mindset,
yeah,
that's one kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it sounds like that's not the kind of message you wanted to say in the first place.
Well, the funny thing is no, the message wasn't ever intended to be
like racial,
a throwback to racial and slavery or anything.
Sure.
But the overall social commentary was, is this android a person? I know it's a sci-fi commentary,
absolutely.
It's like, are they a person? Do they deserve to be beaten? Now, in the end, the cowboy gets his just dessert. She flips the script on him, and he gets taken off by the Nazis, actually. But
look at that.
But yeah, so he gets screwed over in the end.
Okay.
But if I was to do it today, I don't know, because there's a part of me that would say I would love to have that interesting commentary of, like you say, that, back in the slavery times, that a lot of times they weren't viewed as people, they're viewed as property.
Yeah.
And I think that's an okay commentary, but you can also see that there could be a lot of people that take that completely wrong, or you can, and you're just burned by it.
Well, absolutely.
And I just didn't want to, that's my main thing, was I just didn't want to burn people the wrong way.
Sure, dude, so, absolutely.
And that's the main thing is, I think that's always the line you have to draw when it comes to like deciding what you're going to do is, do I do things that are socially acceptable? I will say Horror Hotel's we've always pushed some boundaries on some things and done some things that are kind of uncomfortable and icky in times,
Sure. But I mean, it's not one that curses.
No.
It's not like a dirty show at all.
No, I mean, there's some sexual innuendos, but there's no nudity, there's no cursing.
It's like pretty PG.
Yeah, it's fairly PG. I mean, we've always marketed it as, for the most part, being family friendly.
That's great. Yeah.
And
from the onset, that was your intention.
Exactly. And well, we saw a lot more distribution possibilities later on.
Absolutely.
But with that, so even just going back to like, the android girl, I mean, do we want to play it a little bit safer and not try to unintentionally upset people? At the end, I would rather just cast the best actress. Now, I'll say the actress we got, I don't think it could be a better job done. I think she did it absolutely perfect, and I loved it. And I think I would have casted her no matter what. But, with the option of us having to say, do we need to think about this a little bit? How are people going to take this?
Sure.
And to be honest with you, today, as much as Nazis are not a good subject. Horror Hotel hasn't done stuff with Nazis ever since the first season because they're a bit taboo. There's a lot of stuff out there now about Nazis.
Well,
and people taking those sort of things wrong, whether they're right or wrong about it. You see a lot of stuff politically, alt-right or conservatives. Do they support the Nazis? Does Donald Trump support the Nazis? All that business is a big talking point. And so, we stay away from the Nazis thing because of that. You know? So,
no, dude. I mean, that makes all the sense in the world. All the sense.
Because we want to entertain. We're not really there to upset people at the end of the day.
Sure. I mean, it's tough, man. Because if you go into something like that's one of my biggest issues with writing in general. Yeah. And I think we talked about it a little bit in the beginning or before we started recording, where because you've taken a break. Yeah. And I've taken a break for the most part, and I mean, personally, I've taken a break for, personal growth. Yeah. And for trying to cultivate the kind of messages and stories I want to tell. Yeah. Because in my mind, even though I do want to comment on culture, I want to make it so, well, what does that mean to me personally? Me personally being represented by either a side character or a protagonist. Yeah. And I'm going through quite a bit of stuff now. Like, it's much better than it was last year, the year before. Yeah. And from like relationship issues to personal issues, being, worry, anxiety. Right. I've always had issues with those things. And I think creating things, whether it be this podcast or stories, it's a good form of therapy. Right.
And it is.
I think so. But to that point, like, what kind of stories do I want to tell? I want to tell intimate, personal, uncomfortable stories. So,
but you always run the risk of that turning off audiences or getting backlash. I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
Sure.
But you admit it's something that, and I don't think a lot of people will get that from, a lot of Hollywood types will freely admit it. I mean, you and I as regular dudes and creators are sitting here, we're like, we do have to think, is this going to be taken wrong? Am I doing the right thing?
Absolutely. That's why I think it has to be a collaborative effort. Yeah. Because honestly, I will admit, and in the last episode, it's funny if you watch it or people watch it, I kind of come to a realization in the middle of that episode that I had a privilege. Yeah. When I was younger, we talked about representation. Okay. In film. And damn it, we didn't get too much into it because it was Adele and she's a woman. Okay. And in my mind, I think it's unfair, the argument that that women aren't represented properly or the way they should be in film. Because if you were to look at a lot of movies, especially in sci-fi, a lot of them and fiction that a lot of them like Kill Bill or Alien or Contact or even some newer films. Like, I can't think of any of them on the top of my head. Well, no, Knives Out, female led. Mm-hmm. I think those films, they don't rely on sexuality at all. Yeah. They rely on human input and challenging those mental norms that everyone experiences. Right. But then you have Captain Marvel. Yeah. I mean, the movie was just any other Marvel movie, but I had a problem with that and Aladdin because they were just being so overt in their agendas, man. Okay. I hear you. I'm not a fan of that overshadowing the human perspective. I see. Because I think there's a story there to be told, and I would love to tell it. Like most of the stuff that I write is from a female protagonist anyway. Yeah. Like, think about that where...
Well, I love strong female characters.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of times in video games, when I'm given the choice to create a character, a lot of times I make a chick because I want her to be badass.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's funny you mentioned that because before it would be like playing Mass Effect. Yeah. It would be, I want it to be me, a dude. Yeah. But now I'm like, chick me up.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes, you'll create a character that looks like yourself and you're like, what would I do in this world? A lot of times, though, I mean, my favorite character I created on Skyrim was a chick. Yeah. And she was a tank.
Oh, and dude, she was awesome.
She was badass, and that was one of my favorite characters. So, no, I think representation of people like women or race and stuff, I think there's times it could be done better and all. But, by the same token, there's a lot of times that dudes, I think, are portrayed, in a stereotypical way as well.
That's an interesting topic. Do you care?
Not really. I mean, the thing is, it's
Never. I never care.
when I think of the topic like body shaming and stuff, you see a lot of it come from women.
Whoa, let's calm it down, Ricky.
Yeah. Well, no.
I
mean,
agree, dude.
no.
I completely agree.
Well, but by the same token, like,
they shouldn't have
Yeah.
this body.
Yeah.
It doesn't represent real women.
yeah. But how many times am I watching sci-fi or The Witcher? I mean, Henry Cavill is jacked. Now, I love the dude. I think he's cool, but I'm never going to look like that. But
here's the
but should
issue.
I feel body shamed? Do I feel upset that so many? I love Marvel films. All those dudes in there.
Are jacked as fuck.
I know, but
here's
it's not realistic. I don't feel bad about it. Now I look at it, and I'm like, dang, I'll never look like that. I better go hit the gym. But it's not like it's something that brings my quality of life down either.
Absolutely.
So
dude.
to say
now,
that-
is that a privilege? Because
That-
to you, I agree.
Yeah.
I've never looked at a movie or played a video game
Yeah.
with all of my heroes growing up.
Yeah.
You know, Rocky,
Right.
Stallone,
Yeah.
strong dude.
Yeah.
Mentally, you know,
Yeah.
and physically.
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger,
Right.
same thing.
Right.
Jackie Chan,
Yeah.
same thing. And even, Wesley Snipes and Blade, I love that
Yeah.
guy. But my issue is not once would I say, where are all the Mexicans? Why
Right.
don't they look like me?
Okay.
And why don't they look like me? 'Cause,
Yeah.
I've never been super buff.
Right.
And I don't know if it's an issue of, being realistic, because you could look like those guys if you wanted to. It takes
Yeah.
work,
Yeah. Yeah. It's true.
but maybe you don't want to.
Yeah.
Maybe you're happy in what you're
Yeah.
doing. I mean, to your point, I do feel that the voice of reason when it comes to body shaming
Yeah.
isn't there. And the loudest people calling for change,
Yeah.
in my mind, like I agree,
Right.
seems to be coming from the female side of things.
Yeah.
Those women don't look like I do.
Right.
I think it's a dangerous precedent because I think like Jillian Michaels
Mm-hmm.
is getting under fire now.
Really.
Oh, bro. Yeah. And I love her workouts. I've been
Okay.
doing them. And she's very like, the best you,
Yeah.
seize the day.
Yeah.
Be your best you. Live a long, happy life.
Yeah.
And I love that about her. Never once has she been negative in my mind in any of her media, her workouts,
Right.
her messaging.
Okay.
But right now, she's calling out Lizzo,
Okay.
or she did call out Lizzo.
Okay.
Who I think is talented. She
Okay.
admits she's talented. But in my mind, she's very heavy set.
Okay.
Very much so to the point where it is beyond obese.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I think it's dangerous
Okay.
for a figure like that not to be successful. Be successful.
Yeah.
But in my mind, it's dangerous from a culture perspective to let people know that, or let people think that it's okay to live a lifestyle of what's the word I'm looking for? Indulgence.
Okay.
Because over time,
Yeah.
being that heavy is not good for you.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's not. You're
Yeah.
not going to be able to. I think there's like all these diseases and cancers and all these things.
Right.
I believe to be you can be avoided
Yeah.
by a healthy
A
lifestyle.
little bit healthier. Yeah, for sure.
You're exactly little
Yeah.
bit, not even crazy. Just
Right.
eat whole foods.
Yeah.
You don't have to give up the sweets.
Right.
Maybe less of them.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
fast a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe go take a walk.
Yeah.
But this culture of indulgence, man, it scares me
Yeah.
that it's being so accepted and disguised as, well, you shouldn't body shame them.
Right.
What do you call them fat for, man?
Yeah.
What are you commenting on that for? They're their own person.
Yeah.
Not saying that that's wrong,
Right.
but I think it could be dangerous to be like, well, just because they're like that, that makes it okay for me to indulge and eat my happiness.
Right.
Or smoke my happiness.
Yeah.
Or, anything can be addictive.
Yeah. I mean, it's not on me to tell somebody that they need to look a certain way or be a certain way. So if somebody's heavier and that's what they want, or that's them. That's a them thing. That's not a
Sure.
me thing. I'm more concerned about me and the way I look most of the time.
Sure.
So
So it doesn't bother you that, let's say, someone like Lizzo, a
Yeah.
heavy set, is like, this is okay.
I'm beautiful. This is good.
Yeah.
Not really. It doesn't really bother
It doesn't
me.
bother you?
Yeah. It's not, to me, it doesn't bother me. and
It's
it-
okay to
yeah.
eat this much.
Right. It
It's
does-
okay to be this size.
It doesn't bother me, but by the same token, it's not like I support that. I don't support it or not support it.
You're indifferent.
I'm fairly indifferent for the way people feel about themselves. And I mean,
that's fair, dude.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I've just always taken the stance of, well, I'll tell you this, like, used to be, I would listen to like a lot of political commentary. I'd follow the news a lot and all this,
bro. Especially recently, jeez.
The happiest I've ever been is recently, which is, in the last year, I've really tried to cut out a lot of that. I don't listen to political commentaries. I don't hardly follow the news.
That's good.
I just recently found out about Lizzo from my wife. She explained to me who she was the other day.
Oh, so you heard about this?
Yeah, well, just her, but not the Jillian Michaels thing or anything.
Oh, I see.
But so I've actually cut it out just because I've seen so much negativity and people that feel like their opinion is truth instead of just their opinion. It's the way it is. And I hate that, man.
Yeah. I
I just ended up cutting a lot of that stuff out. But talking to like, body type representation and things, I think it just goes back to, maybe I'm just a logical guy. I ended up not being very emotional about things so much. It's more just logical. And I just always have to go back to, are they the right person for the part,
Absolutely.
Okay, take The Mandalorian, for example.
Sure.
So in it, they got the ex-stormtrooper girl. She is not skinny. Now,
No.
I think she's pretty, but, she's got a little beef on her. Like, she looks tough. Like, she could kick a dude's ass. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So... And so when my wife
more
and I
masculine.
Yeah. So when my wife and I saw her, we're like, man, we really like her because she looked different than what's typically portrayed in, those sort of settings. So, and I appreciate that. Now, if they didn't have her in that role and they had somebody more typical that was like
a little more feminine.
Yeah, more feminine, real skinny, real beautiful sort of thing, I wouldn't have a problem with that either. It's just who's right for the part. I thought it was cool that she looked, tough and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was down for it. And the fact that she's different is probably the thing that just really made me like that character the most.
Yeah.
But do I feel like that sort of thing has to be represented? No, I think it just needs to be represented if that actor is right for that part. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I'm with you, man. Completely. It's all about, who's best for the job.
That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think if more people were to go in with that kind of viewpoint, then and let things go, I think people would be happier.
I think so too. I mean,
or not just assume the worst.
Right. Yeah, and that's probably the biggest problem I have with the state of things these days, because it does filter so much into movies and entertainment, video games,
agendas,
TVs. Yeah, is this and that represented? Am I getting this message across here for this? Am I pushing an agenda here? And it's like, if you want to make social commentary, that's fine. Who am I to knock a filmmaker that pushes an agenda in a movie? That's what they want to do. That's what they want to do. It doesn't mean that I will necessarily enjoy the movie as much if it feels like it's being hammered down onto me. But
dude, I completely.
I just want people to be cool. I almost wish it was like it was in the 90s. I'm a big 90s guy, man. I'm like, I want comedians to tell the jokes that offend people and it's funny.
Yeah.
I want people to make the entertainment they want to make. I want, the Office show to, be politically incorrect. I mean, and then, just have fun.
Yeah.
Why can't people just have fun? Be nice, make the entertainment that they want to make, and not have to think about, am I casting the wrong person for this, or are they going to get the wrong idea?
Am I meeting the right quota?
Right.
With as many, people that need to be diverse.
Right.
Who's going to call me out on saying this or doing that?
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Is somebody going to judge me on this sort of thing here and make my life miserable? And the thing is, it's not even so much that I care what people think about me, but you think about like the James Gunn example that you gave. It's like, it could have been a career ruining thing for him.
It could have been.
So, I mean, it's that same sort of thing. So you do kind of have to think about that stuff. There's just no way around it ever.
Yeah.
But that's my biggest beef with the state of the world. But overall, what I find is I like to just watch my movies and have fun, play my games, read some comic books, read some books, that sort of thing, just make life fun, man. I mean, a lot of people got to be so serious and opinionated,
I know, man. Why so serious? Yeah, dude. On that note, man, I think that's a great way to great way to end things, because I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you. It's just all about having fun.
It is.
Enjoying good content and just taking things a little lighthearted.
And enjoying time with friends.
Oh, bro.
There you go. Pound
Yes.
that. Yeah,
yes.
there you go.
Yes, the world is already tough enough.
That's right.
As you can tell the way things have gone lately. Yeah. So, yeah, man, let's just have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I had fun doing this.
I
Thank
did
you
too,
so
man.
much for
I'd love
coming
to come
by.
back and do it some more, man.
Please. Yeah. Anytime you want, dude.
Definitely.
Anytime you want, please. And I think we just barely scratched the surface.
Cool, yeah.
Yeah. So I appreciate you coming by,
cool.
man.
Had some fun talk, some real talk.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot, man.
Yeah,
That's good.
It's going to be good. I think people will enjoy listening to it.
I hope
you
so.
know how
I
long
hope
we went for?
I can cheat and see. If I had to guess, I would probably say like hour and a half.
2 hours.
Really? 2 hours of talking?
Yeah.
Man.
Talk about long form content.
How did that happen?
It just flew, dude.
Sheesh.
That's how it is. You get in the hot seat, you just
Yeah.
chill, have a good convo.
There you go.
There you go.
Cool, man.
All right, so we did this thing last time to close where we did like ASMR. So we got really close to the mic.
Oh, okay.
And we just said goodbye, everyone. So if you don't mind, I'd like to keep doing that.
Okay, we can do that.
We can just like, thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much for listening.
I appreciate you, Ricky, for coming by.
I appreciate you, Ricky, for coming by.
You don't have to copy what I said.
Okay.
I mean, you can if you really want to.
Well, I appreciate it coming by. It was really fun.
No, thank you. Thank you, man.
You know, if you turn this thing into like left ear, right ear, people might get the tingles.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah. I listen to some ASMR sometimes too.
Really?
Yeah, I get the tingles.
So, like, it's something that you listen to, and it's just like, is it relaxing to you?
I don't know. I guess so. It's weird. I can watch people do like haircuts on YouTube, and it just like feels like I'm getting a haircut.
Oh, wow. So you just put the headphones on, just relax.
I don't know. It's weird, man.
I love it.
I'm a weird dude sometimes.
We're all weird, man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, guys, for listening. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
See you next week.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Have a good one.